Good evening, Raider Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Will to Win broadcast after show. I'm your host, Oakland, and joining me as always is the co-founder and host of the Will to Win broadcast, Raider Pirate. What's up, brother?
What's happening, Raider Nation?
So we launched episode 1 tonight, and as you guys noticed, it was through live feed here on a Google Hangout. And once again, I mean, we put together a great show. We were all excited, and right at the end, last minute, we have technical difficulties trying to figure out loading such a large amount of data and video up into YouTube. YouTube was giving us a fit. So in order to keep to our commitment to excellence, pride, and poise, we decided, you know what, we're going to make sure we get this out. I fired up the Google Hangout. We shot it live. And we know, we read some of the comments and stuff already. We know that the video is a little laggy and the audio is a little muffled at times. But, you know, the content's there, the material's there, and we will be uploading the full episode in clarity by Monday. So that's what's going on with that. Any thoughts with that, Pirate?
No, pretty much that was it. We're learning each week the ins and outs of doing something like this. So putting together a show from the production side, we're kind of getting better at understanding how to work it and what types of things to do, as well as physically putting the show together. But then this week, there was a whole third component, which was, trying to optimize it and get it up. And so I just ran into a couple of issues on that side where it just wasn't happening. But like Knight said, we're committed to 5:30 on Friday. So we posted it up, and if you can suffer through it, we encourage you to try to suffer through it. If you can't suffer through it, there will be something by Monday. So and hopefully before then, if we can get this thing all optimized and figured out so that YouTube just takes it and we don't have to break it apart and do different things with it, then that would be great. So yeah, no, that's about it. We're getting better. We're learning. Each week is a new challenge, but we're just sticking to it and trudging along.
Yeah, and like I said, guys, watching it through and being able to see the improvements from last week to this week, they're all there. The content's longer, the content's more in depth. Like Pirate said, the production is starting to go a little smoother. Just like anything, it takes time, and we just want you guys to know that we're working our tails off to get it right and to put out the best possible product we can. And unfortunately, we had to go live, and it's going to be a little bit off. But hey, we have the hard copy. It'll be up by Monday, and we hope you guys like it. So just do what you guys do, man. Continue to support. We're Raider Nation. We're family. We know you guys understand, and we also know we maybe not have to go into so much detail of what's going on, but we're just upfront guys. We want to be real with you. You guys are real with us, so that's where we're at. So without further ado, man, let's do what we came here to do. Let's talk some football. We got a message that we're going to start off with, and then we'll get to your guys' questions and calls after that. So, Pirate, are you ready for that message, or you need a few minutes?
Which message?
Voicemail? Are we going to run the voicemail, or?
Oh yeah. I didn't know if we were doing text or email or what. So hang on 1 second. I can bring it up. Did we get anything in the?
I know we got a couple of shout outs off the last video. Let me see if I could pull those up at all. Not on that feed. Let me check this feed real quick. Let's see if it showed up here. All right. We'll just give a shout out to Pedro. He said we had good stuff. So I'm just going to paraphrase some of this because none of them were really questions. So Pedro definitely has been a supporter. So Pedro, thank you. I want to give a big shout out to Watts Raider too. He's really been supportive and pushing it and giving us some ideas. And we're looking into all that stuff. So thank you to him. Rest in peace, Kenny. So, we've got some good responses. And I know that there was one, I'm trying to find it, that mentioned the fact about the video feed. And we just want you guys to know that we understood it going in. We were going to have some issues with that, but we're going to be all right with that. What's up, Raider Lion and the WTW? So big shout out also to SoCal 661. What's up, brother? Right back at you. So no really questions on my end yet, but some shout outs to those guys for sure.
All right. Let me.
What's going on, Knight? Raider Typhoid here, calling from Anaheim, California. Just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job, man. Love the new updates, and you finding Raider Pirate, that dude is very knowledgeable, man. Much respect to you guys. But I'm just calling in to see how you guys feel about that story that came out for if we move to Vegas. The Sapphire Strip Club said that they would pay for limo services to the strip club and back, and they would pay for unlimited free lap dances. Now, how do you guys feel about that shit? That would be crazy. I think that would give us an advantage, to be honest, to get some players to come here and no DUIs and shit. But I don't know. I'm just want to see what you guys think of that. A couple of shout outs for our leaders. I never give a shout out to this guy, Raider John, man. I always forget. Confessions of a Raider fan. Love that dude. Love watching his videos. And Raider Kid 24. You guys keep doing your thing. Mike Raider always, the legend. And keep doing your guys' thing with the show, man. Raider Typhoid out.
All right, Raider Ty Bud. Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, most definitely. And a big shout out to Ty Bud, man. Ty Bud, he goes way, way back, man. He's a really cool cat. We were going to try to meet up at the bonfire last year, but big shout out to you, dude. And great question. Yeah, I read that, and I've been kind of prepared to drop a little something about that, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Pirate first because I'm still smiling. It's a funny question and a funny response by Ty Bud.
Yeah, well, you know what? I read that article too, and I thought it was free lap dances to any Raider fans also. So then I found out no, you had to make the team, and you had to actually make the 53-man roster. So you couldn't go in there with the Raider jersey on and get a free lap dance. But and I guess that makes sense. I mean, they'd be worn out if everybody with the Raider jersey got a free lap dance. So. It is a good point. You pretty much eliminate DUIs, where you're going to go hang out. Why would you go hang out anywhere else other than at that particular nightclub? And you are probably going to get a couple of guys. They're probably going to be the wrong type of guys. And if you look at what happened earlier this week with Aqib Talib, it's going to be things like that. It's going to be guys that are they want that thug life. They want to walk around with the pistol. They want to, go to the strip clubs. They want to crack, the champagne. So, could you use it to get some people to come your way? Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of guys like that. And then immediately, I think Derek Carr would come over and prey on them and start laying hands on people and doing stuff like that and talking about Jesus and why it's wrong to indulge, shall we say, in the carnal desires. So I think it might be a conflict with this particular team. It's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you go, sounds like a good idea, probably would attract the wrong element, and I think the chemistry of the team may butt up against it. So there's some things that sound good, some things that don't, and I think like I said, some things that just might be neutral.
Yeah, my take on it, man, is a little different. But you brought up a lot of my same points that I thought about. Now you get the ability of eliminating drunk driving, right? Because they're going to offer the free limo service. And if you make the 53-man roster, how intriguing would it be to be able to go free limo rides to and from, you get free lap dances from all these women. But then, and it might draw some people to be like, hey, I can go play in Vegas. I'm going to get these free lap dances. I'm going to get all this free stuff. Hey, kudos, man, I'm there. But this is the one problem that I have with the Vegas move. It's not the gambling. And it's not the city of Vegas. I think the Raiders could thrive financially in Vegas. I think the Raiders could thrive anywhere. But I think Vegas would be a good fit if we're going to move on and try to find a way to expand our pockets or our owners' pockets and being able to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, the NFL. But they're advertising the party scene. And like Pirate said, we just had Aqib Talib shoot himself, apparently, outside a strip club because he was so wasted. These are the kind of things that get players into trouble and make very bad decisions. And we got a very good, solid nucleus team right now, except for one player, Aldon Smith. Do we really want Aldon Smith in that kind of environment with that temptation out there if he's already changing his ways? And I know it's a few years up the road. We probably won't even have him at that point. But we don't want to develop and have this be the focal point of, I want to be a Raider because I can go to a strip club and get a free strip, a strip tease and limo rides, and I'm just going to party. It's all about business. Right now, one of our slogans is town business, right? Well, I want it to stay football. I don't want town business to be literally town business in Vegas because, as it's good for the fan to go and have a hotel and be able to go and experience some of the things that Vegas has to offer. For our players, there's rules and standards because it's a job for them that they have to live up to. And we've done such a great job of changing the culture of this team. I don't want no interference. So they definitely have to lay some ground rules. You end up over there, you end up doing these things. You're going to get benched. You're going to get let go, especially with our marquee players. Should be, prohibited for even being in front or even on the same street as some of these clubs. And that's just my take on it, man. I don't know.
Hey, we did get a call from, it looks like Indiana. Somebody called and then they sort of immediately hung up. So if you're out there, I'm not going to give out your number, but it's a 317 area code. Oh, here we go. Caller, tell us your name and where you are calling from. Hello, caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Indiana.
All right, what's your name?
Raider G.
Raider G. What's happening, Raider G?
What's happening, man?
What's happening, bro?
Raider Pirate?
What?
Raider G.
Okay, Raider G, you're going to have to turn down your radio while you're talking to us.
Hey.
Yeah, we hear you.
What's up, Raider Pirate? And a guy in the field?
What's happening, Raider G?
What's up, Raider G?
I'm listening to the Warriors game. I'm watching the Warriors game. All right, I'm good. Let's go.
What's the score?
There's an echo.
Yeah, that's you have to turn down your speakers.
We winning. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right, Raider Pirate. First question for you, all right?
Sure, go ahead.
What made you a Raider fan?
I was born a Raider fan. My father, and my father were Raider fans, and I was born in a little silver and black Snuggie. I was raised as a Raider fan from a very young age, and I don't know, somewhere around maybe 8 or 9, I kind of sort of veered off and did some other things, and then I think I came back around 18, 19 years old, and ever since then I've been just a diehard Raider fan.
Heck yeah, man. All about it.
Yep. I was married in silver and black, man.
This echo was crazy right now. Hold on. All right, now, my next question is, do you guys think, this is a serious question now, do you guys think that Derek Carr can be the absolute best quarterback in the National Football League? Like number 1, like Tom Brady?
All right, Knight, what do you think on that?
I think that's a pretty high standard for your number 3, but I don't know if he'll be the number 1. I think he's going to move up the charts this season for sure. he has a chance maybe to be top 10, top 8 for sure, because it's a second year in the same offense, the consistency, the continuity, the second year with Amari Cooper, Crabtree, Seth Roberts. I really believe that the running game is going to be returning. If you guys watched the episode, I explained that. I'll leave it at that. Watch the episode to get my thoughts on the running game. But in all honesty, man, yeah, I think with the offense kicking off, I really believe that he has an opportunity to make a big leaps and bounds. But I don't think he's ready for the number 1 slot yet. But he's progressing, so he's on his way.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think if we're talking number 1 this year, probably not. I mean, you never know. Anybody can do anything. If you take a look at Aaron Rodgers, he didn't go from being the best in the league to the best in the league. He went from, being pretty good to the best in the league. You look at Tom Brady, the same thing. Some guys it takes 5 years, some guys it takes 10 years. Some guys will get it done in a couple and be able to maintain that level of consistency talked about, in our video. And then some guys will have a period, 4, 5, 6 years where they just dominate. And I think that's where Derek Carr is going to come in. We have to remember this guy started as a rookie. There's a lot of guys out there that sit 2 years, 3 years until they get the opportunity to get out there on the field. And then once they do, they got to learn the offense. They got to learn the players. Derek Carr came in. He played with nothing around him. They've built and built and built. I think this second year, we all read articles earlier this week that Musgrave is going to give Carr a lot more freedom to make audibles, to instead of trying to stick to the system. And that tells us something about last year. A lot of people want to talk about Derek Carr. They want to say, oh, he's a check down guy. He's this, he's that. Derek Carr says it time and time again. Look. Derek Carr said it time and time again last year. I had to go where the offense was telling me to go. And that's telling you that he wasn't able to just make plays. The intangible is that playmakers make plays. They don't always make it within the framework of the offense. And he said last year, time and time again, we'd ask him a question. Why weren't you going here? Why didn't you go? Well, that's not what the play called for. That's not what the progression called for. I simply went by the progression. So that tells you that Musgrave really wanted to keep the reins tight, make sure that we didn't get a lot of turnovers, make sure that we didn't put the team in a bad position. So now he's going to get the opportunity, I think, to actually cut it loose and to take some of those throws where, hey, this wasn't the primary read, but he was able to make a big play nonetheless. Raider G?
No, we might have lost contact with Raider G, but big shout out to you, Raider G from Indiana. Thank you for calling.
Absolutely.
I want to give a shout out to Cheech 420. He's from the UK. He's watching us live from the UK. So what's up, man?
All right.
Raider Lion's not with us tonight. He finished his exam, so he's out celebrating his summer vacation. So much love to Raider Lion, and finishing up his. I don't know. Do you know how many years he's in there, Pirate?
No, he said university. I would imagine 4. We also needed to get a shout out to a Facebook group, and I can't. I was just looking it up. I actually got a link to it. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong email here.
And a big shout out to SoCal661 again, and he said thank you for answering his question, and you're most welcome, brother. Anybody else has questions, please email us at thew2w@gmail.com. That is thew2w@gmail.com.
Did you get
a question on the show? Yeah.
Did you get Jesus Ugarte's question?
No, I don't see it here on my phone.
Jesus sent in an email. What's up, you guys? Loving the new show. I've been a big fan of the night, and I'm really enjoying getting to know Pirate and the Lion. My question to you is this. Where do you guys think Derek Carr ranks compared to his AFC West counterpart? Obviously, he is better than Sanchez, but is he better than Rivers and Smith? What are your thoughts? Shout out to the Raider Nation in Sacramento, California, and Stockton, California. Jesus from El Paso, Texas. So that's a shout out to Sacramento, California, and the Stockton Raider Nation from Jesus. So, Knight, the question is, and this is very similar to the last question we had, how does Carr stack up to his counterparts in the AFC?
Well, when you go by years and experience, I mean, obviously you got to rank Rivers and Smith up there. However, when you look at skill set and the ceiling, in my opinion, yes, he's definitely better than Sanchez. That's no question. And I do believe he's better than Smith. Smith's a game manager, and Carr's already shown the ability to be better than that. So right there, I rank Carr above Alex Smith because he could do it all, and that's the kind of quarterback you want. But I don't think not yet, has he got to a Phillip Rivers status. I mean, you got to remember, Phillip Rivers has had some amazing seasons. Yes, he chokes in the playoffs, but I mean, this guy in regular season has put up some huge numbers. He's a fierce competitor. Crybaby at times, yes, but I mean, the guy could play some ball, and I don't think Carr's hit that level yet. But Carr has also shown the ability that he can play like Rivers, and we all should be excited to see Carr get to that level, and then we'll see from there what he can do and surpass himself behind Rivers. But right now, I mean, bias aside, I have to give.
We got a call coming in.
Okay, let's go.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? My name is Abel. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Abel from Raleigh, North Carolina. What's your question, Abel?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, I don't know if you guys have already gotten into this. I just started watching live, but I don't know if you guys got into it about the whole top 100 list.
Yeah. What?
And I'm pretty sure you guys know exactly what I mean about the whole Derek Carr, Blake Bortles thing.
Okay, absolutely. So, this is something I think that we talked about before. It's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It is. I have no idea how they could justify something like this. It's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that Blake Bortles is in the 50s. If you watch the Blake Bortles breakdown, what they say is, well, Blake Bortles was terrible when he came out. And, last year he had a really good year. And Derek Carr was really good when he came out. And, he had another really good year last year. Okay, that just doesn't make any sense. Oh, Derek Carr's ceiling is not any higher because he was good when he came out. He was good surrounded by garbage. He got better when his weapons got better. He's going to be better in a new offense with a playmaker that's going to come into his own in his second season. So once again, it's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. I have no idea how they can sit there. Derek Carr's got a better record in terms of his winning percentage. He's more accurate. There's just things I think that he's going to be able to do. And they said, Blake Bortles, you got to watch out because he can run and he can throw. Derek Carr can run and throw as well. He just chooses to use his brain. He's more involved in the offense. He understands where his check down is. He tries to get rid of the ball. And so, all the things that they would hold against Derek Carr, to me, just seem ridiculous. And there is not a 50 numbers between these two players. I'm sorry. Maybe there's 5 numbers or 6 numbers. And, like I said, if Derek Carr's number 100 and you have to put Bortles in front, you put him at 95 or 96 or something like that, or he's at 104. But, yeah, in my opinion, it's just ridiculous. Knight?
Well, statistics aside, because they don't go off statistic in this top 100. This is player voted, and I guarantee you these players are not sitting down and mulling over all the statistics that go along with it like we would. However, I was also told, and I can't remember where this came from. I think it came from the comment section or somewhere else, where they were talking about that someone saw one of these ballots that they hand the players, and it's pretty much the questions they ask some of these guys is pretty vanilla. So they're kind of lead to pick a certain way. So these players pick Bortles based off, I don't know, his ability to run, I guess. But like Pirate said, Carr could do the same thing. The only thing that make me think that these players, and I know this is going to sound like a joke, but it's serious, is he's thrown more interceptions. So maybe it was a lot of defensive players, defensive backs that say, you know what, I'm gonna put Bortles here. He throws me the ball more than his receivers. And I know that's a pop shot, but hey, you know what? I'm just having fun with it. But there's no way. If you go by statistics, winning percentage, just like Pirate said, when he started off, he had no running game, no wide receivers. Last year, they implemented 3 new wide receivers out of the 4 onto the field, a new running back, a new mixed up offensive line with an offensive line coach, and the running backs struggled once again, and he still improved his numbers all across the board. So, I mean, we know as fans that follow the Raiders themselves and the statistics, and we go look at Blake Bortles and just look at the record and say, man, it should have been switched. Put him at 100, and then he should have been 56. But
absolutely,
it's NFL player driven, bro. So that's the way I look at it. But thanks for the call, man.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Let's just also give you guys a shout out. Love that you guys shows. Especially, the night had best together. Facebook. So, huge shout out to you guys. A little perspective.
Well, we appreciate that, man. We appreciate it. And, call in again next week and let's just keep a conversation going.
Definitely will do.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, Abel. Take care. Right on. So let's see. Okay, so I got a question here from 000. I think it's supposed to be like Oakland Joutu or something like that. It's all bunched together. Sorry, I'm butchering your name, man. It's all bunched together. But he wants our thoughts on Denver and the Von Miller situation. What are your thoughts on that, Pirate?
Well, you know what? I'd like to say something, too, that goes a little bit back to what we were just talking about.
Sure.
The guy that said his favorite player is Derek Carr is the guy that we should be listening to, and that's Von Miller. If you look at Derek Carr's his number 100 video there, the guys, Corey Legent and Von Miller were both sitting there saying, hey, this guy, man, he just does it. He's cool under pressure. So that tells you something when a guy like Von Miller says Derek Carr is one of my favorite players in the National Football League. Not just because he's in our division. You would hate people in your division. You would sit there and say, Peyton Manning, he sucks. You know what I mean? If I'm a Raider player and somebody comes up to me and tells me, hey, who's your favorite Bronco? I don't have a favorite Bronco. I don't care what they do. I don't care about Peyton Manning. I don't care about Phillip Rivers. Like you said, I think he's a crybaby. I don't care about Alex Smith or anybody else. If I got to vote somebody in, they're going to be from like Cleveland or, so, and not to take, Cleveland fans are probably going to be like, hey man, screw you. But at the end of the day, my point is just like anything else, if I'm going to trade somebody, I ain't trading them in the AFC West if it's at all possible. I'm going to try to trade him out freaking Minnesota to the Vikings or to the Buccaneers or somebody, so again, to have a guy of that caliber say, hey, that's one of my favorite players, that tells you something. Voted on by the players? Well, you should be listening to guys like Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt, and Von Miller. These are guys that you should probably be listening to when they're telling you, hey, this guy could be special. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that. But again, you're what was? I'm sorry, that was a tangent. But I know
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
About the Denver and the Von Miller situation.
Oh, you're talking about him not wanting to take their money?
Yeah.
I think that's going to work itself out. I think Elway. I keep wanting to say he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I keep wanting to say he's an idiot, and he's just, like I said, he's a Denver guy, right? So it's easy to want to sit there and say, no. But he's a shrewd type of guy. He basically said, I know what the quarterback is worth. I ain't paying him that money. He can go. Now, this situation is a little bit different, but it doesn't make any sense for you to handicap your football team. We all know, and we're going to face it here in a couple of years, we all know what happens when you start having a really good team. We got a phone call coming through.
Okay.
You're on the air, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Mikey Raider from North Hollywood.
Mikey Raider calling in from North Hollywood.
Mikey!
The Godfather. The Godfather himself.
You're the Godfather. You guys are doing it today. I'm proud as hell.
Oh, well.
Doing it live every Friday.
Hey, well, you know what? We're just trying to take your lead.
Now, believe me, I'm actually very humbled and gracious. Look up the mantle, man. I can't do it all the time. And I'm a silly guy, and sometimes I don't do stats and stories, and believe me, I'm very, very thankful.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hopefully the fans kind of like what we're doing. It's like what we were talking about. We're all trying to get together and do the same thing and show the world that the Raider Nation has fans that are thoughtful, fans that are creative, fans that are well-spoken, fans that produce professional material. You know, everybody, me and Knight talk about this all the time. Everybody wants to pinhole us as just being, prisoners and drug addicts and drunks and XYZ. And so, what we're trying to do, again, I'm a huge fan, watched you for many years. So, you watch some of you guys, and there's a ton of talent out there. We just wanted to see whether or not we could do a show type of format. So, but again, it's because of you guys, man.
I don't want to be honestly, I'm sorry about that, man. I put a post out on Twitter trying to show you live now. Hopefully, this comes from people your way, that can't find it because it's kind of brand new.
Yeah.
And then, Jason, like I said, you guys are doing the thing. I get a lot of emails, and this is a credit to you guys as well. People say, I wish the Buffalo Bills had a channel like yours or like mine. And they're like, I wish Miami Dolphins had a channel. So the Raider Nation, you guys, Jason, we're all doing it, man. And like I said, the thing about money is ain't nobody really making any money at all right now. So this is just a great thing, and I'm really glad you guys are able to do it live every Friday and with your kids good. It's looking up good, baby. I'm gonna have to come down and fill your cup. But I got a question, man. I wanted to reiterate on that Derek Carr, Blake Bortles situation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, isn't it completely right? They can have the stats in front of them, and when they make the decisions to weight Blake Bortles way higher than Derek Carr. But you got to remember, towards the end of the season, the last 4 or 5 games, Derek Carr was throwing interceptions at the end. He lost a few games. He was struggling, and Blake Bortles into that wide receiver, man, they were scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns a game the last 4 or 5 games towards the end of the season. So, they kind of remember what's current and what was popular at the last moment. So at the last moment, Blake Bortles was on all the fantasy football shows, because of all the touchdowns and everything. So that's why they picked him a lot, and that's why he ended up with the 60th spot or whatever it was.
Yeah, Knight, you got a response to that?
Yeah, first off, Mikey, homage to my brother Mikey over there, man. I mean, you're the Godfather. We talk about it all the time, and I've been wanting this for a long time, Mikey, to be more like you guys, and Pirates give me that opportunity. So thank you to all you guys, man, everybody involved. That's me, the humbled Raider fan. But as far as what he's saying, it makes sense. I can see what he's trying to say, because the players vote on it. So the players are going to watch, even though they say they don't, they're going to watch the ESPN highlight reel. They're going to watch NFL Network. And all they're going to see is Blake Bortles throwing touchdowns and watching Derek Carr struggle towards the end. And I get where the players could assume that. And, Derek Carr hasn't played everybody yet in the NFL. So it makes sense that, and this is it goes to what I was saying about the players. They don't look at the statistics. They're just they go off their memories if they played the guy, or like Mikey said, he brought up a good point that they're just, they know what's hot by what they're reading in the paper or what they're reading or seeing on the main social media or the main television networks, and it's all watered down. When you watch TV or listen to some of the news, it's watered down. So it makes sense, man. But big shout out to you, Mikey.
Yeah, you know what? And I kind of see it. I know that players are going to get engrossed in what it is that they're doing. Players are preparing for the next opponent. They're looking at who's coming up. They're breaking down film. They're doing all these different types of things. And so a lot of times you might see a guy and, they might be doing a good job for a period of time on SportsCenter or whatever it is. But we have to remember, I think, that if you look at the offensive line, if you look at Donald Penn, if you look at Jamarcus Webb, if you look at Austin Howard, this line started to wear down at the end of the season. And when the line starts to wear down, all of a sudden, the time that you have to make the throws that you have, Amari Cooper had an ankle problem that he was trying to run around with. We never really solidified a tight end. I think Clive Wofford started coming around a little bit, but Rivera dropped off the map completely. And Lee Smith he's not a weapon. He's a running game guy. Mm-hmm. Our running backs were hurt. We didn't have, all we had pretty much was Latavius Murray, and we just kept trying to run him up the gut. So it was first down, second down and 10, then we tried to throw the ball incomplete. So again, I really feel like in Blake Bortles' second year, they told him, do what you want to do. Go ahead, do what you want to do. Throw the ball where you want to throw the ball. If it ain't open, run. Get to the outside, do this, do that. That's a product of the system that he was in. I think Derek Carr, again, was a check down. He's a check down style quarterback. He wants to stay within the system. He's not trying to run. He's not trying to get hurt. He's not as big, as strong. I don't know how they match up speed wise. You guys may know better than me what their 40 times are, but I still feel like there were a lot of things that if you're just, like you said, looking at SportsCenter, who's hot in fantasy, and you're not seeing why isn't Aaron Rodgers up there? Oh, Jordy Nelson's not here. Why isn't this guy or that guy up there? Oh, because their number one wide receiver is missing. So I totally get it. I totally understand. I'm not disagreeing at all. What I'm saying is I don't believe that there is 50 spaces between these two quarterbacks, one way or another. And I just think it's ludicrous.
You're completely right. And I'm going to leave you with this. I don't want to get talk about me, but first off, I want to give you guys the tagline. I'm Mikey Raider, and I have the wheels to win. Secondly, I wanted to say that Sebastian Janikowski, do you think this is his last year as a Raider? Because they definitely brought in another kicker, and they didn't let him kick much past 50 yards last season, and they kept him on the field in some big situations. Jack Del Rio didn't let him kick. So is he in the doghouse? Is this Sebastian Janikowski last season? I don't know. You guys talk about it, and I'm going to watch the show. Peace.
Thanks, Mikey. Shout out to Mikey Raider, us celebrities. We only our first episode, and we got celebrities coming. So
Mike Raider comes in, he drops the mic, huh?
Drops the mic on us and walks out of the room. There's all kinds of fog and smoke as he walked out, and that was it. Sebastian Janikowski, I agree. I think they brought in Tavecchio. I think Tavecchio he's a decent kicker. It's very similar to what they did with Shane Leckler. Remember when they brought in Marquette King and we were like, what's that guy going to be doing? We got Shane Leckler. I mean, that guy's a legend. He's this, he's that. Well, Leckler went off to the Texans and Marquette King came in and he's been carrying it on. I think he's in the doghouse. I think probably his work ethic. I think his entitlement issues. There are some people that say that he doesn't take the job seriously. He doesn't keep himself in shape. There have been times where he's missed some kicks, and Jack Del Rio's a no-nonsense kind of guy. It's like I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean out all of the garbage, and I think I think he probably is in the doghouse. I think he still has talent, but when you've been doing it for as long as he's been doing it for, your skills are going to begin to degrade at a certain point. And they did keep him on the field. You know what I mean? They did. No. We're going to go for it. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait a minute. You're a defensive coach. You don't want to be going for it. You want field position. You want the points. So that tells you a lot. And, you know, after you reply, I want to say something about Sebastian Janikowski when we drafted him. But go ahead and respond to that, Knight.
Yeah, I got mixed emotions on it. I believe that if there's anything that concerns me about Sebastian Janikowski is what we're paying him for as a kicker. You know,
Yeah.
We got a lot of big contracts coming up, and this I'm going to mix this up with that Von Miller question because I don't care about the Broncos either. And as a Raider fan, I think it's hilarious that they're having negotiation problems, right? But that's as a Raider fan. But as someone who likes to analyze things, I'm going to say this. We are going to be facing possibly the same kind of thing. You know, we got Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack. Gabe Jackson will be up around the same time. We'll probably lose Rivera after this year. You know, there's a lot of players coming up our rankings that we're going to have to open up the wallet to. I mean, if Latavius Murray just blows up, boom. So paying a kicker so much money, that's the concern. And I think that they're trying to find his replacement sooner rather than later because they got to free up money wherever they can. And as great as Janikowski's been, as great as Janikowski could still be with such a big leg, money talks and legs walk in this situation, right? So we don't need you kicking, we need you walking because we need to, you know, pay Mack and Carr and all these young studs that we got so we can build a dynasty. Because once we start winning, if Denver would not have won the Super Bowl, especially defensively, and if Von Miller would not have been the MVP, the contract would be done already. You know, but now he's a Super Bowl MVP. He's been known and getting all this publicity about being one of the best, if not the best, pass rushers in the league, second to Khalil Mack. But you know, I'm just saying in general, right? This guy's like, hey, I got the ring, I got the hardware to prove it now. I want my money. So we'll see what happens with us. So it's the same thing with Sebastian. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the difference between a guy who's been in the league 15 years and a guy who's been in the league 4 years, I mean, maybe you had the advantage 15 years ago, but I think that margin is coming down. And I remember when we drafted both Janikowski and Leckler, and this is the thing, you know, I remember my dad telling me, you know, the year before that, you know, we lost so many games by 3 points or less the year prior. And if you go back and you take a look, when we got Janikowski, that's when we won those games, and that's when the era began. Okay, we got a caller coming through.
Okay.
Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Autumn Wind, and I'm calling from Manteca, California.
The Autumn Wind from Manteca, California.
What's up, Autumn Wind?
Hey, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the offensive line. I didn't catch the first part of the after show, but I just wanted to touch a little bit on maybe how deep the backups are. I mean, I heard you guys mention that they got a little tired at the end of the season last year, and the run game suffered a little bit because of that. Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on I know we drafted an offensive lineman late in the draft, and I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on the depth of our offensive line and maybe how you think going forward, how we're going to keep you guys healthy for one, and maybe a little less tired in the later season.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Autumn Wind. So did you hear the question there, Knight?
Yeah. I got the gist of it, yeah.
You want to take it or you want me to take a swing at it?
You can take a swing at it if you like.
Well, here's my opinion. I think from left all the way to right, I think we're just as good or better on the line from our starters, and I think we're definitely better on the line from our backups, right? So Donald Penn returns at left tackle. We're hoping that he can, you know, go through the entire season. I mean,
Donald Penn is huge.
He's a big, yeah, he's a big man. He's got chemistry with Derek. He loves Derek. Derek trusts him, and they have chemistry. Then you've got Kalichi Semele, who they brought in from Baltimore, who's going to be an absolute beast. He takes the place of a beast. Then you've got Hudson in the center. Like Knight said, the big man, the man in the middle, right? The man who makes all the calls. Again, last year when he went down, we started having problems, right? We started having issues when Hudson was in a game, out a couple of games, tried to come back, out a couple more games, right?
Right, and now Bergstrom's gone. So
exactly. So I call Tony Bergstrom the potato. So now we don't have
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Knight.
You froze up a little bit real hard, so I was just kind of maybe helping you out there. The feed froze. Go ahead.
So now Feliciano is going to be taking snaps at center. So we're better off at center, right? We're better off right now at left tackle, left guard. We're going to be better off at right guard because now Webb is gone. And he was serviceable, but again, he was a right tackle trying to play guard. And we all know what happens when you get tackles that move inside to guard, right? They get overpowered by the bigger, more powerful defensive linemen in this league. Now, if Menelik Watson takes over at that right tackle position, okay, that's an upgrade. Now, if you look at the guys that are going to be coming in to back them up, Austin Howard got a ton of experience last year. He was a starter last year, and he did a very good job at right tackle. So I think now you've got a 1 and a 2 there. If you look at Vidal Alexander, he's either going to swing over to the left or the right guard spot. This kid is another beast. I mean, we've got a glut of interior linemen. Kirkland, who's going to be on the other side. I already mentioned Feliciano is going to be the backup at center. I think Kirkland, the undrafted guy that we got, this is another guy that a lot of people are saying he shouldn't have gone undrafted. He was a 6th, 7th round type guy. And that may seem like still a low pick, but this guy's a big-time mauler. He's a little bit limited in what he can do in space, but he's a strong, big-time mauler. The only question is who's going to be that swing left tackle? Who's going to be the guy that's going to jump in there if Penn does start to go down? And we could talk about reshuffling the line, sliding Osamele over, which is, Gabe Jackson can't play left guard. So this is a conversation that we were having. There is a possibility that you could slide Osamele over to the left tackle position, bring Gabe Jackson back to the left guard position, and then you could slide out Feliciano to the right guard or move one of those two tackles who are better suited to play inside than Jamarcus Webb was. So in my opinion, I think last year we were very thin along the offensive line, very, very, very thin. The guys that were coming in to back up at center, right tackle and right guard were subpar guys at best. And if we had lost anybody on the left or right side, I think we would have been in real trouble. This year, I think the starting line is stronger, and I think the backups have much more talent, and we're going to have a lot more we're going to be a lot more seamless when guys have to go out for a play or two, because somebody's twisted an ankle or done this or that. I think it's, the next man up is going to come in there and he's going to be the same type of player. Like I said, the interior of this, I just salivate. The interior of this line is going to be nasty. Knight?
The bookends ain't so bad either, brother. And
do you think that they should play more maybe in the first half and keep the fresh legs with our badass, over 80 rated offensive line for maybe the third and fourth quarters for when it's trying to get tired. When they need them in there, it's like, are we going to see more backups in the first half? Maybe play, maybe not a whole series, but I mean more than just 1 or 2 plays. People like fresh, you know what I'm saying?
Knight?
I think that there's opportunity for that kind of a rotation. I really don't see it happening, especially with last year our running game struggled, so they ended up pushing more than they had to. They pass block more than they ran block, and when you pass block, you have to hold it for a little bit longer, so you use more strength and power. So with the combination of a running game and a power game, they won't tire out as fast. And I don't think it was more or less that they got tired as the injuries, like to Rodney Hudson and to, Medelec Watson we lost, and Gabe Jackson got beat up there for a while. So what I think when I look at it, I don't think we need to rotate as much, but the depth is definitely there. And Pirate touched on a lot that I was going to say about the rotating and the versatility as far as being able to slide guys one way or the other, whether it's sliding Osamele over or sliding Gabe Jackson over. And Feliciano was the key guy for me because he's in his second year. He's a strong, stout run blocker. He can hold his ground. So I think he's going to really be a good backup center as well. And then you got, Pirate touched on everything, man. You got Austin Howard with, I think our right side is probably the strongest side of this offensive line because that's where the true depth is. I like Kirkland and stuff on the left, but they're a little bit more green. It's going to take them a while. That's why I like Gabe Jackson floating back over in an emergency situation. But the right side's our strength, and we could play around with the right side, but I think the combination of run and pass this year is going to pay dividends for their longevity and staying fresh throughout 4 quarters of the game. That's my thought.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to take up all your time, but if we're switching over to the defensive line, or even the linebackers in particular, you think we have a solidified middle linebacker, so where the green dot, if he's going to push the defense. I know Smith is, he's a Super Bowl champion. He played good last year. He came in and he played well. And we have incredible outside linebackers this season with Irving and of course Mack, and all settled for students to come. But do you think we need to solidify the middle linebacker spot at this point? I know this season's probably real delayed. There's not really a guy out there, but maybe in seasons to come, do you think that he or even Smith is going to be the guy who's going to be there for a couple seasons?
Knight, I took the last one. You go ahead and take this one.
All right. So a little inside track to anyone that's listening, that's not a season ticket holder. Me and Pirate were able to listen to a Reggie McKenzie and Jack Del Rio press conference for the season ticket holders the other night. And what we heard there was a big endorsement for Ben Heaney as the middle linebacker. And they really like his speed. They think he has a nose for the football. And they kind of compare him a lot to what they expect from Carl Joseph. He's a big, strong, fast guy that's going to throw his body in there and make hits. He's all over the place. So I do think that Ben Heaney's going to thrive in that middle linebacker spot, and they're going to use a lot of the different looks and different packages that we talked about over the course of the few weeks to take care of that tight end getting free on us. So, and when you look at the front, that's where it all starts. I didn't hear that. What was that, Pirate?
Say that again, Autumn Wind?
I said a little bit of a delay, but I really like Heaney too to be that person to step up,
Yeah.
Heaney, they were talking. The Heaney has all the tools they're looking for. The only knock on Heaney, and it was his coverage, but he was a rookie and he's a little short in stature. But I think the way that the defense is going to line up, it's going to be a lot easier, especially with our defensive front. And I was thinking about this, a lot of pressure on Khalil Mack, right? Oh, consistency from Khalil Mack. That's what we're hearing this week. Khalil Mack's numbers got to be up. But I think the key to a great player is him making players better around him. And when you look at a guy like Von Miller and what he's been able to do, you brought in DeMarcus Wares when he really stepped it up. And then all of a sudden you had a guy like Malik Jackson that we were talking about, that when he starts doing his –
Hang on, we got another caller.
Okay.
All right.
Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Indiana, it's Raider G.
Oh, Raider G again.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, Raider G?
Nothing much, man. Listening to you guys, watching you guys. You guys are awesome, man. Keep up the good work.
All right, well, we appreciate it.
I got a question, though.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, here's the question. First, I got 2 questions, right? My first question is this. If the Oakland Raiders move, to Las Vegas or to LA or wherever they move to, because they're going to move probably, right?
Yep.
Is it going to mess up our franchise in a bad way? What I mean by that is, we're looking really, really good right now. We got Carr, we got Coop, we got Crabtree, we got Richard McKenzie, we got Berea, the list goes on. But if we move, right, that's a big move, okay? That's moving out of state or cross country or whatever, and it's going to affect our franchise in one way or another. Is it going to be bad or is it going to be good? Because we're going to be good this year, and we're going to be good the next year. But when we move, is everything just going to go crazy, and are we going to suck again? What do you guys think? You guys think it's going to be good if we move or bad? And then my second question is, what do you guys think about the way the NFL sees us? And what I mean by that is, do you think that Roger Goodell and the National Football League wants the Raiders to be good ever again? Or do you think the NFL wants us to see us lose? Because my whole entire life as a Raiders fan, all I have ever seen is the Raiders get screwed over by the referees. The Raiders should have been in the playoffs 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We're so close. Like every single game, we're so close, and we get screwed over by the referees. And it's like the NFL wants us to lose. So do you think that the NFL wants us to ever get into the playoffs again? Or do you think that secretly behind the scenes, they hate the Raiders and they don't want the Raiders ever to win a Super Bowl ever again? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I think that. Sometimes I think they don't give a fuck about the Raiders. And they're never going to give us any breaks, ever, because of the shit that Al Davis did, which is messed up. So what do you guys think? I want your opinion. I appreciate it. And I love your show. You guys are awesome. Honestly, hey, Raider Pirate, I came out well after with you. Raider Pirate, I think you were the best Raider blogger ever. That is the shield of the shit.
Yeah, that's nice.
Mikey Raider is the legend, is the godfather. But so far, the stuff that I've heard from you, Raider Pirate, in my book, you're the godfather. I listened to motherfucking 3 videos, and you know more about all of those guys. You are the godfather, in my opinion, Raider Pirate. It goes you, then Night of the Shield, then everybody else. So keep it up, Raider Pirate, because you are awesome. You were like, you think, and when I listen to you, I listen to me. I see me. I hear me. So keep up the good work, guys, and hopefully the show keeps on running. You guys keep doing everything. So let me get your opinion on that, man.
All right, will do. Thanks for the call, man. You know what? So what we're going to do is we're going to put those 2 calls after what it was that we broke off with what you were talking about, Knight, with the defense and with the middle linebackers. So we got those 2 questions we could put to the end. And I appreciate the comments, but you know what? This is just I just started doing this, and you know it was Knight asked me to come on, and you know I've been watching his stuff, so I've probably learned everything that I'm saying now from these guys. So I appreciate the comments, but you know I'm still brand new, man. So you know I thought you had me confused with Knight. I'm like, no, man, his name is Raider. His name is Oakland Knight. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? So,
in all honesty and respect, Pirate.
Hang on, we got one more call coming through.
I've been telling him, Raider G. I've been telling him he knows his stuff. That's why he's my partner, man.
Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? Raider 97 from Baltimore.
What's up, brother?
You got a question?
Yeah, my question though, man. You guys think that guys will? I say that because guys, I think he was doing like a big part out of like instead of looking at the art of the Derek Carr was weak beater across that. To me, everybody blames like the Mark people up as guys like that. And when you look at the drop pass, I don't think it was good.
I lost feed. I don't know if I lost Pirate. You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the points that think about Carr. And to me, as time went on, as well as the season went on, he got worse instead of better. And our defense started to rest as well. So in my opinion, he's starting to rest, you know what I mean? So that's what I think about Carr.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Again, in my opinion, and I'll just give my opinion real quick and throw it over tonight. But again, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of factors about why he regressed at the end of the season. I think he's trying to do something. I think he's trying to learn an offense. I think he's trying to carry an entire football team. Wide receivers got to catch the ball. I've never, unless he's wildly inaccurate. I mean, wildly inaccurate, like Tim Tebow. When you're talking about someone like Tim Tebow, okay, fine. Yeah, that guy sucks, man. He's terrible. He got work, But when the ball is hitting your hands and is bouncing off your chest and he's throwing it to the freaking running back, it's hitting him in the numbers, it's bouncing up in the air. You look at a lot of the interceptions that Derek Carr has, not a lot of them are being thrown directly into defenders. Go back, if you do analyze them, go back and see how many pop off the hands of our guys and go into other guys' hands. So we got another call coming through. Caller, where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Raider G from Indy, bro.
It's Raider G again.
Hey.
Hey, Raider G.
What's up, bro? And you awesome. Hey, are you going to post my last call or what?
Yeah, it's live. We're going to talk about it right now.
Hey, man, that was a good question, though.
That was a great question. We're about to talk about it right now as we speak.
So my last question is going to be on your guys' show.
Both of them are on the live show.
Man, I got nothing. Hey, man, I love you and that show. Hey, man, it's so nice to shoot. I'm looking, bro. I was born in Fresno, California.
There you
I
go.
live in Indiana, and I moved out here when I was 15 years old. So I was born in Cali, but I live on the East Coast now. But I got family on my dad's side and shit that lives out in Cali. So I'm from Cali, homie. Okay, so I'm just letting you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was my question, homie. You know what I mean? And I got love for both you guys. You guys are awesome. Keep it up, and I hope your guys' show is, like you guys say, it's gonna be on every week. Cause I'll be tuning in. I'll be subscribing. I'll be supporting donations, whatever, Facebook, Twitter. You know what I mean? So keep up the good work, guys. I got nothing but love. You guys are awesome. You guys are representing Raider Nation. Heck is good.
Thanks, man.
Heck is good. Like, was that comment that you made about they think the criminals and whatever it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was awesome, bro, because we're not. We're blue-collar, hard-working, regular people, just like Patriot fans or Charger fans or San Fran fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're regular people, man. We ain't criminals. So I love what you guys are doing, man. Man.
Well, we appreciate it. Hey.
Raider Pirates, the knowledge you got of the Raiders, man. God, man. Man, I listen to you, I'm just like, I think the same exact thing that you think. It's crazy. But anyway, I'll let you go. I already got work to do.
Hey.
I appreciate it, man.
Hey.
I love you, bro.
Hey, listen, Raider G. Listen. Also, if you actually want to get a question on, if you call this number back during the week, so from Saturday until Thursday, you can call this number and leave a message. That we're going to figure out a way to get those comments on, and also you can always shoot us an email. So we're going to be on every week, every Friday, 5:30. You can bookmark it. You can subscribe to it. We'll be here, even if we're only doing what we're doing now. We're going to be here, and we'll be doing what we're doing. So send us in some comments, and share us on Facebook, share us on YouTube, because we do want to do that. We do want to get out there and let people know that we're just some good guys out here talking ball. Thanks for the call, G. All right, so Knight. So let's go back. So we got a couple of questions. So let's wrap it up on the middle linebacker question, and then let's go to Raider G's questions.
No, absolutely. So just to finish up what I was saying, I'll make it quick on that. it all starts in the trenches, and everybody's expecting Khalil Mack to boost up. But Khalil Mack's going to make everybody better. That's his job. He's going to be double teamed. He's going to be held constantly. He's going to be the primary focus. So I think the Raiders have done a good job of bringing in Bruce Irvin, bringing back Alden Smith, drafting Shaheed Ward, Shalik Calhoun. You still got Dan Williams in the middle. I mean, this defensive front is going to bring the heat. They're going to bring the pressures, and it's going to be amazing to see how they feed off each other. And once they get the penetration, the linebackers are going to have plenty of room to run around, make plays on tight ends, sacking the quarterback themselves. You know, and this is my bias coming out, right? Because it's all on paper at this point. We haven't seen them play a snap. But if it all works out the way that me and you have talked and the way that we're seeing it go, it's going to be something special. So everybody should keep an eye out for it. But as far as a middle linebacker, it's going to be Ben Heaney. We heard it right out of the horse's mouth. Reggie McKenzie and Jack Del Rio endorsed it. And then this defensive front's going to back it up and have him be able to run around, use his speed to make plays.
Yeah. Reggie McKenzie basically said this is his first year going in as the starter. So he's already said as the starter. Now the coaching staff knows there's nobody else there that is, you know, we don't need a lot of competition. If they see something in you, you're going in as the starter. If they don't see something in you, they're trying to replace you. They would be silly to not try. You know, again, this is a thing that my dad used to tell me a long time ago. Look, if they don't address it, they know something, right? They know something. They see something. They have a feeling. And just like Knight said, the middle of this defensive line doesn't require a old school traditional 43 hard-nosed middle linebacker, Dick Butkus style guy. It really requires somebody who can run around, sift through the garbage, and make a lot of tackles. And that's Ben Heaney. And they also said they were really high, and this shocked me, but on the season ticket holder line, or question line, they basically said they really, really, really like James as well. Corey James, you know, so I think Malcolm Smith, you know, may stay on the weak side. Looks like we got another caller coming through. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Autumn Wind again, calling from Antigua.
Autumn Wind is calling again.
What's up, brother?
Hey, I just here listening to, you know, I'm a faithful listener.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't mean to one up Raider G at all. He's a you know, an awesome Raider fan, but I just want to say, you know, yeah, he's got family in California, and that's great, you know, but 50% of his broadcast is my family, you know what I'm saying? We share blood, brother, and you know that. And I think what you guys are doing is freaking awesome. I think Oakland Knight hooked up with one of the best brothers in the business. And you guys know that I love you guys. I'm going to be here to support you. I'm calling every week. And, you know, I come with the great questions. And I just want to let you guys know that I love you both. Especially you, Pirates. You know my love for you. And you're guys old man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. We love you too, man. Love you too.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, brother, man. That Autumn Wind is my cousin. So that's why he's saying 50% of the podcast is his blood. He would be correct on that. That's my cousin Joe. And he's been part of a lot of football conversations, including, you know, me, my dad, my brothers, and things like that. So I just want to let people know, please keep your opinions to yourself if it has anything to do with me, because we just started out, and I don't want Knight getting all upset at me. You know, this is his show. Well, we're a partnership, but look, man, I came in basically as just somebody that loves football, so I appreciate it. But you know, like I said, I never had any plans on really doing this, and I'm honored to be able to do this and to have made a friend. And you know, we're putting in a ton of time with this. So anything that I say, I've probably bounced off Knight 5 or 6 times, you know, before we even get on this thing. I mean, we had a conversation just today about what we're going to be talking about next week, and we talked about a lot of different things. So I do appreciate it. It's humbling. I appreciate it, but like I said, man, I just started, so I don't want to cause any friction.
For the record, though, and this is a fact, ladies and gentlemen of the Raider Nation. I've been telling this man since day one that he has a gift. He's got great knowledge, and his analyst skills are on point. So no one's hurting my feelings, dude. It just shows you how intelligent I am, though, right? I'm gonna pat myself on the back and say I picked a partner who knows his stuff. Hey, I think we make each other better. I think we're a good partnership.
Absolutely.
But I will say this, your stuff, Pirate, and I've been telling you, so I'm glad everybody is giving you the love you deserve, dude. So we are a partnership. So, I mean, let him have it, guys. He deserves it. He really does. He puts in a lot of work, too. So, Pirate, from the Oakland Night, you are the man, okay?
Yeah. Well, I just want to get it out there, though, that we do talk about so much stuff that by the time we get on here and start talking about it, I mean, we could probably finish each other's sentences. And a lot of times I use what you say, and a lot of times I'll hear stuff that directly I was saying that you'll say. So I just don't, again, I want people to understand this is not just my knowledge. I follow the Raiders, but I do a lot of reading, and again, we also do a lot of talking back and forth. So if you do like something that's coming out, it probably wouldn't have come out if we hadn't been talking about that subject back and forth. So, all right, let's go back to that second question. So they talked about moving. Raider G was talking about moving. Do you think that if we were to move, that it would set our franchise back, that we would go back to the losing ways? And then capped on top of that, do you feel that the NFL hates the Raiders and there really is a conspiracy and it's nasty and we're never going to win again?
Well, this is an interesting – the first part of the question, I want to say this. I don't want to get too much into it for a few different reasons. One reason is it's one of the hardest questions to answer because we can't predict the future, what this team's going to be like in a few years. Also, I have a lot of mad respect for my Oakland natives. Me and Pirate are both from that area originally. That's where we were born and raised up to there. So we got ties to that. And we also talked about possibly doing a segment or a video just on the Vegas thing alone. So I don't want to waste any of our good material on that. Not that we don't want to answer your questions, but the Vegas is a hot topic right now. But I will say this. I don't think it's going to hurt us if we move. And I'm just being real about it. Only because financially right now, without a new stadium that Oakland doesn't want to help us with, it's hurting us financially. The owners cannot see us thriving. They want Mark out because they do a thing called revenue sharing. And so we all get an even split, and the Raiders are not putting enough into the pot to get their take back. So guys like Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft and Snyder from Washington, all these guys are basically paying our tab, and they're not happy. So in the big picture of things, whether it's Oakland or Vegas that gives us the stadium we need, it's going to be better for our organization as a whole because we're not living off other people's revenue. So it's a tricky question, and I'll just leave it at that. The second part of it is a little different. Yes, you are right, Raider G. There is a sense of bias and stuff when it comes to the Raiders. It started back really even before the LA move, but once we moved to LA is when it really, really got heated because Al Davis has always been the Maverick. He's always fought the NFL in one way or the other, whether it's been rules, and he's led the way in so many different aspects, whether it's been ethnicity, rule changes, you name it. I mean, Al Davis has been in the forefront of it all. Even if he didn't get the full credit, he was right there. So once he moved and he started battling these guys, and we've seen it. But over the last few years, I've noticed something. Okay, we're changing our culture and we're changing the mind. Al Davis has been gone now for 4 years, and we're all still adjusting, and it's still going to take some time. But you ask the Cowboys, do they feel like they've been screwed after the Dez Bryant drop? Or it's not just the Raiders anymore. It's a tough game to call, and sometimes we don't give it credit. The rules have changed so much; it's hard to call certain things. But there ain't no question about it.
We got a call coming in here. We got a call coming in here from Maryland.
All right, let's go ahead and take the call real quick, and we'll come back and finish up the thoughts.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Raider 97? Okay, yep. What's your question? I'm sorry. Can you're talking kind of low. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. What's your expectations for the Raiders this year?
What are our expectations for the Raiders this year, Knight?
Yeah, I addressed this with Raider Lion last week. Last year I gave them a solid 8-8. That was I was tired. I didn't want a losing season. I even made the statement that I'd be upset if we didn't hit 8-8, and we ended up 7-9. But when you look at the games and the way that we played them, you have to give the coaching staff credit for making such a big jump, and we were right there. And there's a lot of those games that we coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? You can't live off those, but we were in a lot of tight, close games where we had opportunities. So I take that 8-8 and I look at the returning staff, the consistency, the continuity, the adding of great players. And my expectation is at least wild card. So I could, going low, I would say 9-7, but I'm going to stay firm with my 10-6 prediction. I see us going 10-6, dude, and pushing for our division.
Yeah, I agree. When I look down, we got another call coming through. This one from California. Caller, what's your name? Where do you come from?
Orville.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Orville, California.
Okay, I didn't catch your name. You're calling from Orville?
Yeah, Raiders CJ from Orville, California.
There you go. Raiders CJ from Orville, California. What's your question, bro?
My question is, who do you guys see being the return specialist this year for the Raiders? I think that's one area where we need improvement. So where do you think we'll go that way?
All right, we're going to answer that. We're going to take that. We're going to answer that one off the air once Knight's finished with what he's talking about here. So stay tuned, okay?
All right, thanks.
All right. All right, Knight, go ahead and finish with what you were saying.
I think it was up to you, right? Because I talked about the 10-6 record.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. When I look at it, if I go down the list, Saints, I think we're going to beat. I think the Falcons will probably be a tough game. Titans, I think we'll beat. I think we'll beat the Ravens again. I think we can beat the Chargers. I think we can beat the Chiefs. I think we can beat the Jaguars. I think we can beat the Buccaneers. It's going to be dicey with the Broncos and the Texans and the Panthers. So that's a little rough stretch. The Buffalo Bills, that's a 4-game, rough stretch right there. I think we're going to split the Chiefs. I think we're going to, again, beat the Chargers twice. The Colts are going to be tough end of the season, and then the Broncos end of the season. So I think we're going to build some momentum kind of coming up. I think there's going to be, 4 or 5 games there in the middle and a couple of games at the end. So 9-7, 10-6, at a minimum, I think we're going to go 9-7,
Right.
10-6. And, none of those teams really scare me. Like I said, look, the Broncos are going to be tough. Regardless of what's going on, they're going to be tough. I think the Texans are going to be tough because they've got that tenacious pass rush, a good defense. They can run the football. It's a good football team, and they stuck with O'Brien. The Panthers are going to be extremely difficult. The Bills are going to be difficult. And, like I said, if we could take one for the Broncos and give one to the Broncos and do the same thing with the Chiefs, but we can sweep the Chargers, you're looking at 9-7, 10-6, right? If we build some momentum and this team starts to play the way that we all think that it can play, and this goes back to the question, do I feel that there's a bias? And the caller said, well, it seems like they're throwing flags on us all the time, and we should have been in the playoffs a long time ago. No, we had some decent teams. This is a team that should be in the playoffs, that the only way that it's going to get derailed from the playoffs is if the referees start throwing flags or we start having a slew of injuries. This is a playoff team. This is a true team that once it gets in there can make some noise and go to the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying the talent that we have on this team compared to the talent that we had with Jason Campbell at quarterback or even the last few years, there's no comparison. This is a good football team. This is a strong football team. This is a well-coached football team. It's going to be a disciplined football team, and it's going to be a football team that plays together for one another. So again, I look at it and I think to myself, we're going to win a lot more than we're going to lose.
For sure.
That's my answer.
For sure. Return to glory is what I've said. So Raider CJ from Orville, what was his question again?
What do we think of? Somebody asked the return specialist.
Return game, right?
Who's going to be our return specialist?
Well, it was very interesting because for one, there's two phases to this, right? There's kick return and then there's punt return. TJ Carey is still on the team, so he's being looked at probably as the main source, especially for punt returns. And then we'll see how George Atkinson III comes along. He has some skills, some speed, but he has trouble holding on to the football. But there's a lot of wide receivers, and we were talking about this, I believe it was last week. Some undrafted free agents that came in, McCaffrey, Hensley, and Mickens, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head here. Those three are making a lot of waves. And we heard this once again. We got this from Jack Del Rio and Reggie McKenzie. A lot of these guys that are coming in, especially on those undrafted free agents for wide receivers, they're going to have to play special teams. If you're going to be the fifth or sixth wide receiver on the squad, you have to be able to do something in special teams. And when you look at a wide receiver, that's usually returning the ball. So they're being looked at from their hands, their route running, future prospects as, maybe take Seth Roberts' spot, Andre Holmes' spot, Crabtree when he's ready to hang it up. But can they return the ball? So I look at those three undrafted free agents to make some noise and be put in that position. Your thoughts, Pirate?
Yeah, every year I get all excited about who's going to be the return guy. It's somebody that we bring in from another team, or it's somebody that we draft in the 7th round, 6th round, 7th round, undrafted guy, guys like the Bows. And, and every year it turns out that now it doesn't happen, so I don't get excited about the return game. We haven't had an explosive return game in so long, a return game that has been that made us different, and each year I kind of look at it and we got this guy and he was on this team and he was a great returner on this team, and then he comes and they just don't do it. So I don't know if it's our blocking schemes, our special teams coordinators. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but no matter who we seem to bring in, we tend to get the ball out to about the 23-yard line. So every once in a while we might get a decent return to the 40 or something like that. I like Taiwan Jones. I like some of the guys that have kind of already done it for us in the past. I think Taiwan Jones, if he could stay healthy, I think he's got a lot of ability on a lot of different levels. He played running back. He's played in the defensive backfield. He's a special teams guy. He returns punts. He returns kickoffs. And they kind of move him around. And we had Ross back there. But a few different people. We bring in this guy, and then he fumbled the ball, and we bring in this guy. Again, that was a problem with Jones, was he was fumbling the ball in some of those returns. So, as well as running with the ball. So, I until I really see that we've got a really strong scheme, that those guys that are up there blocking are just pile driving guys and creating some seams and being disciplined and not getting called, having, plays called back. I mean, that's one of the worst plays in football is, some guy runs 100 yards and it gets called back because a linebacker push somebody, not even holding. It's like stupid stuff like, he pushed him on his shoulder from behind, clipping or something of that nature, where illegal block in the back. It's just stupid stuff. The only thing that's even worse than that, except for when it happens to us, is when somebody just like slaps the face mask of the quarterback. I think that's so stupid. But when it gets us a first down, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's a good rule, man. But for everybody else, I think it's ridiculous. So long story short, I just can't get excited about it. That doesn't mean that if we have somebody back there that continues to get us tremendous field position, I won't be extremely excited about it. It's just that every year I try to get excited about it. I start to get excited about it, and then we never And I don't think it has to do with the returners themselves. I think it has to do with how we're setting our guys up to block. So I don't have a horse or a dog in this fight or whatever you want to call it. Whoever does it, hopefully they do it. And let's score some freaking touchdowns.
Right. It's hit and miss when the return game, really. Either you're hitting the home run or you're getting a decent return. It's still going to be up to our offense at the end of the day to move the chains, to take time off the clock and get into the end zone or kick some field goals. So
absolutely,
I mean, it's really based off offense. You don't need a Devin Hester, to be elite in this league or make it to a Super Bowl. It'd be nice to have. I'm not going to turn it away, but as long as you can catch the ball, do not fumble it. Get 5, 10, even 15 yards in a return, out to the 20. Let the offense be the offense and go from there. And let's face it, that the return part of the game is going to fade away with the CTE situation. The league is really looking into just trying to eliminate it altogether. It's not as easy as just saying, okay, boom. But they really would like to move the ball to the 20, to the 30, make it some type of even playing field and take it away completely, which I disagree. I think you sign up for a sport. I don't want to see people with CTE either, but football's football, and this has been played this way since the beginning of time, dude. So, it's a tough situation to call that one. So, but anyways, you got anything else over there? What are we dealing with over there? Anything?
We do got some comments. Fire Bro said, awesome episode, guys. YouTube cannot support a video of such high quality to be streamed live, so it doesn't play smooth and looks choppy. I suggest next time you upload the video earlier in the day and make it public at the specific time. Other option is to downgrade the quality when streaming live. Keep it up, guys. Raider Nation for life. And just Fire Bro, we kind of went over that. That was the idea, was to upload it, but we were having tremendous problems with YouTube even uploading that. Thank you very much for the suggestion, and we will be either downgrading the quality, which we hope to not do, or hopefully getting it uploaded a lot sooner and then doing it at the time that we stated. Lafayette, Kathy's. Oh, we got another phone call coming from Indiana.
I wonder who this is. What's up, Raider G?
Caller, you're on.
All right, look, man. Here's my last question for the night.
Okay.
Before he gets on the show. All right, I'm going to proceed to watch the Warriors, man. They're going to kick ass. Well, Steph Curry needs to turn up. All right, look, man. Here's my last question for the night, or I should say my last statement for the night, okay? Now, look. Here's what I think, okay, with all my heart and all my soul, all right, man? I think that the Oakland Raiders has the offense, the defense, and the special teams to beat damn near any team in the National Football League, okay? The season is going to come down to the coaching staff. If the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator call the right plays and puts the Raiders in position to win games, they will be just fine, okay? Do you guys think that we have the coaching staff on either side of the ball to do that or not? And that's basically my question and my statement. So I'll let you guys go from there.
All right. Thanks, Raider G. Thanks for all the calls. Thanks for all the questions. They're all good questions. So, like I said, everybody, we love the questions. Keep on calling in. Knight?
Yeah, I love our coaching staff. I really like the defensive side of the ball. I think Ken Norton, I think last year was a lot of personnel situations with Ken Norton. They had to figure out their personnel. They lacked pass rush. They had to move things around. But this year, I think they got the personnel that they want. I think year two is going to be so different from year one. So I really see the defense clicking on all cylinders earlier than last year. And they came around towards the end of last year, by the way, too. So 2 defensive-minded guys, Norton and Jack Del Rio. I'm not worried about the defensive side of the ball. I also like Rod Woodson. I like Marquise Robinson. We've got a lot of good coaches over there. Offensively, I think Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, is amazing. I think we're going to be solid there. I think he was working with a lot of different pieces and putting it together. And now he's got a full, complete line that he likes. The biggest question, and I'll say it for last, the elephant that's always in the room is Bill Musgrave. I'm on the fence with the guy. I'm not going to say I'm pro Musgrave. I'm not going to say I hate Musgrave. I believe that he did a good job. You look at the numbers in the whole, they all went up. He implemented his offense. He taught his offense. Carr listened to his offense. And like Pirate mentioned earlier tonight, Carr ran his offense. Carr didn't try to step out of the box and be something he wasn't to make any. They weren't trying to rush anything. They went with the flow. And this year, Musgraves came out. He's made statements saying, we understand our runners. We understand how to use our running game. We know how to use Murray now. Where we want to give Carr more options to kind of do things that he sees on the field as he sees fit with inside the scheme. So he's already opening up more. But if I had a concern, and it would be with Bill Musgrave, because he's still, to me, on a prove it type thing. And this is his last chance for me, because second year, now he's already saying the right things. Oh, now you flat out said you understand what you have in Murray, so let's see how you utilize that. Now you're saying, okay, you know what? I know Carr's abilities. Carr knows what I want. Now I'm going to have him move things around and kind of do things that he sees fit. Okay, this is it. You're calling your shot. It's like Babe Ruth calling his shot before he stepped up there to hit a home run, right? That's what Musgrave did, in my opinion. So he's definitely, if any coach is on the hot seat, it'd be Musgrave, and that's where we have to keep our eyes on, is the offense with him. Your thoughts, Pirate?
Yeah, I think offensively and defensively, they're really symbiotic. I mean, you can't have. I think when you have a very strong defense, generally speaking, you have a good running game, maybe not such a good passing game to account for a lot of turnovers. Your defense can't be on the field for a long time, so your offense has to be able to generate either points or they have to be able to make first downs. And the same thing for your offense. If your defense is just letting other teams score, you're going to be tired. The pressure is always going to be on that you're going to have to go out there and you're going to have to make plays. So I think it's a very symbiotic relationship. Jack Del Rio, to me, in the beginning, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about the hire. I'm totally sold at this point. I think he personifies what it is that we're trying to do now. And when I look back and think about the guys that we were begging for, an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, Ken Norton was a guy that was an afterthought. You know what I mean? It was like a guy that, they wanted Smith and all these other guys, and they wanted us to go out and get Mark Trestman instead of getting, Bill Musgrave. So, watching these guys, they came in, they knew they had a young team. They taught the young team. They understood we can't just open the playbook. We can't just ask them to do everything. We're going to have to bring these guys along slow. So that in itself says that they're a competent staff. Now, a competent staff still has to be able to call a good game plan. And you can't really do that until your young players have learned fundamentally what it is that they're supposed to be doing, what the coaching staff wants. And that doesn't happen until, very deep into the season, if at all, in the first season. So, statistically, throughout history, we've seen that continuity among coaching staffs generally produces higher percentages in terms of completions and defensive statistics and everything else. So very rarely do we see a team that's had 4 or 5 different offensive or defensive coordinators over the course of a 4 or 5 year period consecutively in the top 10, unless it's, again, a team like New England where, Belichick really is controlling everything, right? So he's basically making sure that whoever comes in is running what he wants them to run. So, and then you've got a quarterback like Tom Brady and guys, captains on your defense that, you don't need to call great game plans. So again, if you ask me, do I think that they're the right staff? Absolutely. I think Jack Del Rio's the right head coach. Ken Norton is absolutely the right defensive coordinator. I think Bill Musgrave is, in the last couple of years, if I listen to what I'm saying myself, he's doing the right thing. He's not coming in and trying to light the barn on fire and do this and do that. I mean, he's really trying to come in and teach these guys how to paint the fence. and wax on and wax off. And then every once in a while, you're going to get into a situation where you got to crane kick somebody right in the face. You know what I mean? Wait on it, Danielson. Bam, crane kick, you know. And I think that's what's going to happen again more often than not this year. I loved it when I saw that article. You know, he's going to let Derek Carr put his mark on this offense. And there was a really interesting article by a guy that covered Derek Carr when he was at Fresno, and he followed him from high school into college, and now in his last couple of years with the Raiders. And he said that he's watched this guy progress every year. He's never regressed. You know, the stats may have been only slightly better, but he's never regressed. So it's going to be interesting. We got another call coming through. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Autumn Wind again.
Hey, Autumn Wind.
What's up, brother?
Yeah, I love that analogy with the Karate Kid. That's awesome. But that's exactly the point, is that the coaching staff, I mean, they can't get out there and make plays. So, I mean, they call the play, and it just comes down to execution on the field.
Absolutely.
I agree. At this point, I think, you know, since we're very early in the season, we have all the players that we wanted to get. I mean, I think we're the steal of the free agency. I think we got a very good grade on the draft. I mean, Joseph, in a couple of years, I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl safety.
Yeah.
I like what we're doing, but again, it just comes down to execution. It comes down to, can Carr make the right read? I mean, I think he gets a little frustrated sometimes, and he's checked down a little too much. And you know, I don't think the players last year were expecting him to check down so much. I just think that he's going to have a lot better year this year. I think Mark Cooper knows now what it takes to be a wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's going to have a way more better year. I think Crabtree, you know, he's Crabtree. He did exactly what we got him for last year. He's a mature. I think that even Seth Roberts, he showed up last year. I mean, that dude came from the practice squad, and he made some great big plays for us. And I just think, you know, the defense is a lot better. It's just going to be a good season. I think 10-6 is a good prediction. I would even say 11-5.
11-5. Absolutely.
Right. I have another thing to say. You guys had a great Stabler section in your guys' show tonight. That was awesome. My thing is, maybe a little talking point is, what do you guys think about? I know the Raiders don't retire numbers, but maybe you know, something that we might want to look into in the future. I mean, I know there's a reason for it. I don't necessarily know why it's like that. I just think that, you know, there was a couple of years ago where we had number 75 who did not deserve to wear Howie Long's number. I just think, you know, I mean, Gannon was a good 12, but he's no Stabler. And I just think, you know, maybe we should start getting some of these numbers to recognize some of our older players. Maybe we're a dynasty in the league. We're the Oakland Raiders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate it, man.
All right, brother,
Thank you,
man.
Adam.
Take care. You know, I think that the reason why we don't retire numbers is because Al Davis said a long time ago that he didn't want any player to be bigger than the Oakland Raiders, that the Oakland Raiders franchise itself shouldn't have anyone above Al Davis, right? I mean, Al Davis is the Raiders, and he didn't want there to be a great 12. And like me and Knight were talking about, Kenny Stabler was, and I think Knight was the one who made an expert point during his piece that, you know, he was the quintessential Raider. You know, he was what Al wanted to be but couldn't be. Al Davis didn't have the skill, unfortunately, to get out there and to do the things that Kenny Stabler was able to do. He wanted to do it. He idolized people that did it. He understood how to build it and how to put it together, but he couldn't do what Kenny Stabler did. And just like Marcus Allen, who started to become too big for the Raiders, Al Davis wanted him to know that Bo Jackson was better than Marcus Allen, and so in my opinion, that's why we don't retire numbers. And I think the thing is that we just haven't done it yet. Doesn't mean that we can't do it, and it is something that we should look into.
Yeah, as far as the retiring numbers, I'm not a big fan of the retiring numbers thing. Like Pirate just mentioned, Al Davis didn't want it to be bigger than himself. And well, we could have a Ring of Honor without retiring a number. We could. I mean, we already have the Burning Flame up on top of the Coliseum, and I'm sure that'll go where if we move from Oakland, it'll go with us. And we've already brought players like Marcus Allen back. And one of Al's biggest thing is once a Raider, always a Raider. It's something that's been ringing throughout the Raider Nation forever. We seem to use it more and more every year. Willie Brown, Blitnikoff, Jim Otto, all these big names still part of the organization. So that gives more credit, speaks more volumes to me than a number being retired. You can't wear it no more. And I think you limit yourself by retiring too many numbers. And let's face it, we've had some great players. I don't know if we'd have any numbers left. I mean, and I'm overshooting it a little bit, but I think that the fact that we could honor and still have the numbers, but do like a Ring of Honor where the player is up there, and but we do that by they're always part of it. Look at Madden. I mean, everybody's still around. Everybody's still a big part of what the Raiders are. So I think Al's done a great job with it. And I see it happening in the future? Possibly, Reggie and Mark might change it to put his own stamp on it. But in my whole honest opinion, I hope they don't start retiring the numbers. That's just my thought.
Devil's advocate here, though, if you look at it, you would say maybe you retired 12, 32, 75, 00. 81. I mean, there's not 81. Yeah, 81. So there's not. I mean, it's not that there's. There are a bunch of great players. Don't get me wrong, but the numbers that stand out to me that are synonymous with the player that you don't have to go. What was Gene Upshaw's number again, or what was we know exactly who 32 was. We know who 75 was. We know who 12 was. We know who 16 was. We know who 81 was, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in that sense, I don't think you lose as much as you think you do. And again, that was Al's rule. That's not Mark's rule,
Right.
So like Autumn Wind said, Gannon, and I thought Gannon brought our team back to prominence, so I give him a lot of credit. He was one of my favorite players. I loved his escapability. I loved what his leadership and his no nonsense. Like, get that video game out of here. We're here to work. You know what I'm saying? Get that out of the lunchroom. What the hell's wrong with you? Where's your playbook? Why are you running that route? What are you doing? I told you that was a go fly. And that goes back to what we were talking about with Derek Carr. I think people have a tendency to kind of sit here and not realize what the checkdowns are really all about. There's and I don't think we probably talk about this enough, but when you're playing the position, there's a lot that's going on. You're getting a call in, you're taking that call, you're walking up to the line of scrimmage, you're surveying the defense, you're trying to read what it is and you're trying to make sure that you understand that. Is it a disguise? Are they disguising this? Do I have the right play call? What personnel is in here? Where are my guys? What are the routes they're going to run? What's the drop count? Where's the pressure going to come from? Do they have a blitzer? How do we slide the line? This is all happening in like 3 seconds, or not even 3 seconds. Right. This is pre-snap. So as now he's surveying this and looking around, and when you're playing against somebody like a maniac in freaking Buffalo, Rob Ryan, who's going to send, guys from everywhere. It's a lot easier to play against your Gus Bradleys and your Pete Carroll. I mean, they've got really good players, but where those players are going to be. They're going to play the, single high, 3 deep, whatever it is, play a little bit of underman zone or some man-to-man off the edges. So you know where they're at. They just have really, really good players that are really, really disciplined. But so much of that has to happen. Then he's got to drop back. Then he's got to look. Then he's got to make his first read. At the moment that he makes that first read, if anything is wrong in that play, if he misjudged it, if there's pressure coming from somewhere he didn't know pressure was coming from, if somebody slipped, if somebody missed a block and a guy's coming free, you got a couple of choices. You could play sandlot football, you know what I mean? You could slide up into the line and either try to run for it but throw it across your body. You could try to toss it. But we know what happens when you do those types of things. You commit turnovers. Most of the times it's incompletions and turnovers, right? When you're sandlot football. So when he's gone through all of those progressions, and he realizes, oh, shit, this play's broken. There's absolutely no reason at this point for us to try to make something out of nothing. Our defense is playing better. Let's put it in the hands of our defense. Let's live to fight another day. It's when you do go for those types of plays that bad things happen. So, again, a lot of times people think, oh, man, I don't know if he's the right guy. I don't know if he's this. I don't know if he's that. It's a system. He was learning a system, and he's been very adept at working within that system. Jack Del Rio said something to a caller the other night. He said, you're a prove-it caller. We're going to have to go out and we're going to have to prove it to you. We're going to have to show you that it's better. We're going to have to show you that being in a system the second year, you're going to be more proficient than the first year. And we should all know that. We all have experience with that. The fifth time I rode a bicycle was much easier than the first time. The fifth time I tried to learn a phone system was easier than the first time I did. The fifth time I did anything was much easier than the first time that I did it. Or the difference between having a year of experience or no experience at all with the same personnel. This is just going to be so different. We're just used to seeing subpar football. Like we were talking about earlier, we could pay Sebastian Janikowski so much money because we didn't have anybody that we were paying all kinds of money to that was really needed. Right? We were paying all kinds of money to crappy quarterbacks who couldn't win the starting jobs and overpriced players who weren't going to produce. So you look at it and you go, the kicker, he's worth it. Yeah, he makes them when we need him to. But at this point, this team has gotten better. And like I said, listen to me closely. Listen to me closely. This offense is going to be a lot better than it was last year. And this defense is going to be a lot better than it was last year. And they were already at times consistently in the top 10, right? Consistently. We were looking at Derek Carr, Mark Cooper.
First half of the season for sure. The first half of the season. Offense.
Okay. So that's going to take time for you to get consistency in. So again, I know I took a long time on that answer, but it is the way it is. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now, you heard it here. All these Derek Carr. I don't know if Derek Carr's this. I don't know if apparently there are a lot more of them than I thought, but I just don't see it, guys. I think you guys are blind. I should.
No point intended, right?
Yeah.
No, but just to add to that, though, we talk about this a lot, and it's something that I've tried to live by since I've been on YouTube. Is if I'm going to come up here and I'm going to analyze the team, I need to do my best not to be so biased, because as fans, and then sometimes when people say, okay, I'm not going to be biased, it turns out to be a lot more hate. They feel like I got to hate something so I don't sound like such a homer. It's neither of that. But when we watch tape, we have to keep, especially on Derek Carr, because I know there's a lot of people that say, well, I watch tape and I see he should have hit this receiver. He was wide open and Carter. Okay, as fans sitting back watching tape, we don't have, a 4-3 defense we're looking at rushing at us to rip our freaking heads off. Okay?
Exactly.
And we got more than 3 seconds to be like, dude, Crabtree's open. Why you look? And he's looking. I mean, if he's looking to the left, because that's what he's trained to do in that play, he's not going to see Crabtree on the right. Crabtree's job is to run that way to pull the defender and the safety away from this guy. So we got to understand that we don't, even though we can watch tape and say Carr's this or Carr's that, we don't know the playbook. We don't know the play that was called. We don't know the progression of that play. We don't know if Carr just didn't look where he was supposed to, or he was and it wasn't there. And it came down to, I mean, it was Autumn Wynn that brought it up. It's execution. It's all on execution, and he's exactly right. Coaches put together schemes, they call plays, but if the play is not being executed correctly, that doesn't mean you have a bad coordinator. It means you don't have, something's off. You know, something's off on the offensive line. Something's going on with the receivers. It's funny how Amari Cooper led us in drop passes, but he also led us in receptions. You figure that one out, okay? Obviously, we targeted Amari Cooper a lot, and he was hurt towards the end of the season. So is that really on Carr or is that on Cooper, right? So as analysts, you have to look at the big picture, what you see. Sure, that's your first reaction, but you have to really put the shoes on and think like a quarterback and say, okay, well, if I got Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware running at me to rip my head off, you know, I got to get the ball out quick. That was a big defense he played. And that's what he did. He saw it. In fact, I was at that game. It was the first game against Denver. The Chris Harris interception, it was because Seth Roberts, another rookie, didn't get his head around in time. Carr saw the play. He read the read. They called it a fire blitz, and I can't remember who said it on my video, but he was an ex-defensive football player, and he called the play for me, okay? It was a fire blitz coming off the corner. The defensive end Carr saw it. He said Carr did exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. But if you look at the tape, Seth Roberts doesn't turn his head around. Chris Harris seen it coming, jumped the route, and was gone. If Seth Roberts gets his head around there, don't say it's a completion, but it's not an interception. And if you look at that play, if he caught the ball, it's either a first down or a touchdown, and you're inside probably the 2. So we have to look at the whole situation and not just what the end result was. So that was me losing my. And
you got to look at timing. You got to look at defensive coverages. There's so many different things. I can guarantee you that Derek Carr probably made the right read. He probably threw the ball to the right or to the left where it was supposed to be, and the receiver went the wrong way or did this or did that. You know, I mean, the guy's meticulous. He's a film room junkie. He's a leader. He's a perfectionist. He's always trying to compete. He's always trying to get better. So it's easy for us to turn up, well, you threw the ball. Yeah, but I threw it to you, and you ran the wrong route. You dragged. Instead of taking the inside, look at where the quarterback was lined up. If he's lined up, where the sideline, if he's shaded to the inside, right, he's not going to worry about the sideline. You need to fade out. I'm going to put the ball on your outside shoulder. That's the only place that we can put it because he's playing to the inside. So when you see somebody like Amari Cooper or Seth Roberts or even Crabtree, these are guys that they've got to where they are because of their athleticism, and they're going to get frustrated when they're covered really, really well. It's easy in practice to run a skinny post or to, 5 steps, start a step, out, whatever. That's easy to do in practice. You get your timing down, you get this, now all of a sudden, guess what? You got this guy across from you that's better than anybody that you're practicing against. So you feel pretty good about how you're running that route normally. You feel like, oh man, I can make that route. But now, okay, you got Patrick Peterson on you, and he's putting his hands all over you, and he's pushing you around, and he's getting you off step, and you can't get to the depth that you're supposed to get to, and the ball's coming faster than you want to, So again, we have a tendency because he throws the ball to think that he's responsible for where the ball goes, who it goes to, when it goes. I'm frustrated myself. There are many times where I sit there and I say, why the hell would you throw that ball? If it's 3rd and 12, why would you throw that ball 6 yards? Why in God's name? And I'm not talking about to a check down. I'm talking about sometimes where none of the receivers will get past 6 yards. This is the type of offense where they're saying, hey, throw it, and the guy's going to have to make the play. You need to run at least one guy 10 yards or 12 yards or whatever that first down marker is. That should be the design of the play. But in the NFL, they're always telling you, oh, well, there is no play for 2nd and 15. Why the hell not? Why isn't there a play for 2nd and 15? I mean, like, why? I hear that, and it seems to be it's something that I've got to look into. And I know that there's statistics and, down and distances and percentages that are going to tell you, hey, look.
Politically correct. This is what could happen. You don't
exactly.
want the risk is not worth the reward 90% of the time. We're not going to do it. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, but if you take a look at the Raiders and the Kenny Stabler segment that we did, Kenny Stabler threw the ball more than 15 yards on several occasions. Derek Carr's thrown it more than 15 yards on several occasions. So clearly there are plays designed to get you 15 yards, whether it be on first down, second down, or whatever. And again, like you said, it's politically correct. You look across and you say, well, if we throw the ball on 2nd and more than 11, we have a 50% chance if it's a 5-step drop of being sacked or having a turnover or incompletion. That's 3 bad things. We have the potential of a completion. That's one good thing. Okay, let's not do that. Let's check it down because our chances of completing the pass are that much higher and gaining some yards. But if you got to punt the ball away, it just doesn't make any – it frustrates me. It frustrates me.
And I think that's what I like about our offense right now is because you brought up Kenny Stabler throwing it over 15 yards. That was Al Davis's MO. He didn't believe if you weren't throwing it at least 15 yards up the field, he had no passes designed under 15 yards. All of his passes had to go over that. I'm sure there was check downs and screens and things like that. So to kind of see Carr kind of going that way in last year, and it's barely just beginning, that's exciting to me, man. I can't wait to see. That's Al Davis football right there.
No, absolutely. And we were, you remember we were on that call and there was a caller basically that said that, we're running the West Coast offense and we're doing all these, he was talking about the check downs, I think is what he was talking about. And Jack Del Rio basically said, look, the shotgun is not part of the West Coast offense, and we're not running the West Coast offense. I mean, we are pushing the ball down the field. We're not running slants and a lot of the, double backs or pro back set where the 2 backs are on either side of the quarterback. We're running a variety of different things, but we're trying to run to our strength, right? So we're trying to make sure that what it is that we're doing, Derek Carr felt comfortable in the shotgun, but we know that the running game is better if we're running it out of, an eye back, right? And we know the type of runner that we have, and I've said this so many times, Latavius Murray is a horrible, horrible gun runner. I think Tywan Jones is a good gun runner. I think this kid, DeAndre, is going to be an amazing gun runner. And I think Kalu was a pretty good gun runner when he was there with, what's his name, that went to Cleveland. The kid from Baylor, RG3. So, he did a lot of gun running up there too. I really wanted to see Kalu. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a doghouse type of thing.
No injuries.
Mm-hmm.
They had the hip.
But so was it? But he's cleared now, right?
He had the surgeries. I believe he's clear now. He's getting ready. He'll be at training camp. He should be full go at training camp.
Yeah, I really wanted to see what he could do. I really wanted another guy in there because he's a strong runner. He gets low to the ground. He's shifty, but he gets low to the ground. And I thought he'd just bring a whole different element. Latavius should be the power back, even though he runs with very little power. But he should be the power back. Tywan Jones should be the speed, scat back, screen, pitch it out to him, stuff like that. And then you'd have a situational guy like Kalu. I thought that would be,
good enough, right?
Really dangerous compliment. Yeah. I still think Latavius is a very finesse type of runner, but I'm so excited by his speed once he breaks free. You know what I mean? Once he's free, yeah. Oh, he looks like Bo Jackson once he's in the open field, But the problem is he looks like Harvey Williams when he's, running between the tackles. Remember Harvey Williams with his freaking bobblehead neck and stuff? And he'd always run straight up. He was Harvey Williams.
Hanks or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Burton Hanks, yeah. Harvey Harvey Williams ran like he was afraid of breaking his stick in his butt, man. I hate to say that, but his body was so straight like this. He would run through the line, and you'd just be like, that man is going to break his neck, you know? But I think Murray runs like that, and I wish we had an Adrian Peterson style. Get in there, freaking lower your head, and just get a good body lean, and just go. You know, carry these blocks, particularly with this offensive line that we're building. Man, you know, if Murray doesn't do it with these guys, our number one pick next year is going to have to be. I would have. Also liked it to have been this year, but our number one pick is going to have to be a power back.
For sure. And I think there's going to be a lot more running backs available next season.
Oh, yeah. There's 3 of them that are savages right now in college football. So Fournette, McCaffrey, there's 3 or 4 of them that are – everybody is saying – they potentially are going to be better than any of the running backs in this draft.
Sure.
Including Elliott.
Right.
You know, I mean, Elliott's a good back.
Elliott got a lot of hype, but when you're the best running back, when you're the best player in your position, hands down. So if you're a guy like Elliott or who else was really big and known?
But he wasn't. I mean, like I said, if you look just because of eligibility, McCaffrey and Fournette were just as good as Ezekiel Elliott. Fournette, I think, is better than Ezekiel Elliott, you know. Looks like we got a call coming in from the 909. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? This is Andrew again from
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Now, I had another question. Now, I don't know. I don't really hear a lot of news or anything from the special team. I really wanted to know how much in depth, or how good we are. Do you guys think in special teams exactly?
Special teams. How good are we in the special teams department?
Well, special teams is about as good as your depth. So last season we didn't have a lot of depth at linebacker. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of guys underperforming. Then you can look at your defensive front. You want your size and your safeties to really help out in the special teams game. So last season, I don't think we were necessarily horrible, but we definitely missed the mark a lot. This season, I do believe there's going to be an upgrade as far as coverage goes. But like we were talking earlier, the return game is hit and miss. Unless you land like a Devin Hester or someone that could be explosive, don't expect much from that position. You just want to focus in on your offense. But as a whole, we got a good special teams coach. I mean, his name's slipping my mind right now. Do you know his name off the top of your head, Pirate?
No, I forget what his name is.
But he's a well-known special teams coach.
Seeley? No,
it's Seeley. Brad Seeley. It's Brad Seeley. Yes. Yeah. So Brad Seeley, he's really well-known. So he has the coaching ability, and now I think he's going to have a lot more toys to play with. Even guys like Jahad Ward, Shalik Calhoun, these guys got both sides and enough speed to make a difference in special teams. So although I don't rest my – you need all 3 faces to click. I don't rest my hat on it, but we're definitely going to be a lot better. I don't know if we'll be elite, but we'll definitely be a lot better.
Yeah, special teams is hit and miss because, again, like Knight is saying, it's a lot of fringe players. It's a lot of guys that are coming in from other teams, and they got to develop some chemistry. There are guys that, again, maybe are some undrafted guys, some young rookie guys. Then you got some guys that have played well that you keep on your own team. So you've got a core of guys on your own team that you try to use. When you're looking at the main positions, though, I mean, if you're looking at kicker, I think we're good with Janikowski or Tavecchio. When you're looking at punter, I think Marquette King is one of the best. John Kondo is one of the best long snappers in the league. I think Lee Smith, the tight end, was taking some snaps as well. And then kick returning, now that DeBose is gone, I think TJ Carey, because we've got so much depth at corner, TJ Carey may actually be a full-time, just get in there and full-time punt returns. And like I said, I would like to see Tywan Jones myself, because I think he's very explosive. I think
DJ Hayden he can feed the speed too.
DJ Hayden, if he's not going to be used again because of the glut, like Knight said, you generally, the way that special teams breaks down is you got a couple of big guys in the front, one or two offensive linemen, a couple of linebackers and tight ends in the middle of the field, and then you got maybe a fullback or another linebacker back there, or safety, and then you got some really fast guys, and those guys are generally your backup corners, your backup running backs, maybe a wide receiver, guys of that nature. So again, it takes a while for them to develop chemistry, because you very rarely have special teams units that are the same from year to year. It's an extremely rare thing. So you can't look at it like, oh, this defense, we've got the same guys on this defense for the last 5 years. That doesn't even happen anymore in the NFL. I mean, now with free agency and, players getting astronomical salaries, but you do get guys that are very similar to them kind of coming up that have been in the system, homegrown guys that you can use. You just don't get that with special teams. If you look around the league, I mean, it's not like you could see a team that, they've been terrible on offense and terrible on defense, but year in and year out, their special teams has always been great, Whereas with teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers or teams like the Green Bay Packers, you could say, well, year after year, their offense is consistently great. Year after year, their defense is consistently great. The Baltimore Ravens, the Chargers, or teams like the Saints that have a prolific pass offense. So because of all the mixing and the matching and the fact that guys are coming and going every single year and they've got to build chemistry, and you may have one or two core special teamers, core guys that are going to be there. And again, that could be somebody like your long snapper and your gunners. Generally, they stay the same. But the guys that you got running down the field and smashing into people, that's a tough thing to have a lot of longevity at. So I think it's just really hard to project how good we're going to be, because again, it's not something that you have a really solid metric on.
Yeah, that sounds good. Is he still on air?
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I think maybe
Yeah, absolutely. So
thanks for the call, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many people do we have right now? We've got 12 people still watching.
12 still watching or listening. And I know, and that's not bad considering the weather.
Oh, wait a minute.
Right
He's calling back.
Okay.
Sorry, caller. Did I hang up on you?
Hey, I'm sorry about that.
Abel.
Yeah. I mean, this question is going to ask you guys. I am a very big defensive guy. I love me defense. Now, the person that I worked with, he told me something that really, really good to me. He told me defenses win games. And how good do you guys think that our defense is, good enough to win us some games? Because, of course, we saw that the Broncos last year, they won the Super Bowl because of defense. Another good example that I want to use here is the Baltimore Ravens. When they won their Super Bowl, not only did they have a pretty good defense, a great defense, but, they had a really good offense to sort of match it, Do you guys think that we can go far or win more than 8 games, actually? As I know that Knight said we could go 8-8, I believe. I don't really remember exactly. But, do you guys think that we can win a lot more games than maybe 10 games, maybe even 13 games because of the defense.
All right. Do you feel like do you think that this defense night is capable of winning us? I think what the caller's really trying to say is, do you think the defense will win us 2 or 3 games just on their own this year in order to push us over the edge? Do you think that we're going to have an elite defense? Do you think we're going to have a very good defense? Or do you think we'll have just a vanilla defense like we've had in years past?
That's a great question, in fact. So thanks, Abel, for the question, because that's really awesome. I really like the depth of this question. Yeah, I really, really do believe that this could be an elite defense, and it can win us games on its own. 13 games with the defense, though, that'd be awesome. But when you look at the way that they built this defense, you look at last year, we came on, it was a tale of 2 halves, right? The first 8 games, we were all offense, and the last 8 games, we were mainly all defense. So you saw a lot of these players catch on and catch a rhythm towards the end of the season. You take that and you move it into an offseason where you built upon that, especially in the trenches, because this is a pass rush that says it all. When you look at what Denver did, it was based off their pass rush. So, developing that pass rush, bringing in Aldon Smith, bringing in Bruce Irvin, bringing in and drafting guys like Jihad Ward and Shalik Calhoun to already team up with Dan Williams and Justin Jelly Ellis in the middle. And then you already know what Mac brings, and Autry was a great piece in there too. And I'm leaving out Mario Edwards Jr. I mean, I just named off our whole defensive line in starting in rotation form. The pass rush is going to be there, so that's where you have to start. So yeah. And then you beefed up the secondary. We heard a good piece about, losing Woodson and what that meant, his leadership. You cannot replace a guy's leadership. But let's remember, Woodson was primarily a corner most of his career. He moved to safety. So we bring in Reggie Nelson, he was a pure safety. That's what he plays. That's what he came into the league to play. So he's not an exact exchange for a Charles Woodson. But you team him up with Nate Allen, you bring in some fresh meat like Carlos Joseph that's going to lay some wood, as well as he's got a knack for the ball. Everything seems to be lining up. It's almost like the linebackers are a moot point, right? But Malcolm Smith has showed that he's really good. Heaney showed that he's really good, but we don't pay a lot of attention to him. So now that I'm out of breath, I'm hoping I'm getting my point across. But, yeah, this defense is built for a run, man, and I do believe that they're going to be elite. And what I like about our team the most, though, is we're going to be balanced. I think we need to look at that, too. Not only is the defense going to be a lot better and strong throughout 16 games, but our offense is going to be carrying them, too. So we're a real balanced team. We're not like the Broncos were last year. We're a real balanced attack. That's what makes us dangerous.
Yeah, I think that, at the end of the day, when you look at what a coaching staff comes in and what they do in their first year, generally speaking, they've got to do what they can with what they have. And last year, what they didn't have was pressure from the middle and a very solid secondary. And that was something that we knew from the beginning of the season. We weren't, Khalil Mack was probably the only pressure that we were going to get, from the outside. We didn't know what we were going to get in Mario Edwards Jr. We had no push from the middle of the field. So basically, Khalil Mack, who was a defensive end outside linebacker, who had only had 4 sacks the previous year. So we're kind of sitting there like, uh-oh, is this another bust? Is this another guy that's, that's not going to produce the way that we need him to? So we made the defense, they did what they could with that defense. They made some adjustments. You take a look at the secondary. I think they were high on the young kids and they wanted them to play. And I think by the end of the season, they realized that was a mistake. We shouldn't have been high on these kids. We shouldn't have wanted them to play. We should have went out and we should have, for the 3rd year in a row, brought in some veteran corners. Charles Woodson is good in terms of being able to, mentor some of these guys. But at the end of the day, we were missing pressure up the middle and we were missing pieces in the secondary. If you look at what we've done this year, we addressed pressure in the middle and we totally revamped the secondary. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that, again, the linebackers now have more of a hybrid role. They don't have to be, the like we talked about, the big, strong, fat, boom, hit the line of scrimmage, fill the gap type guys. They can run around. They can make a ton of tackles. There's going to be a ton of pressure coming from all over the field. I mean, now you look at it, and last year we were like, oh, it's only Khalil Mack. This year, Aldon Smith is going to be coming in later in the season. But again, Bruce Irving, Shalik Calhoun, Khalil Mack, Jihad Ward in the middle, Mario Edwards Jr. And there was a great breakdown that showed how Mario Edwards Jr., when he was playing on the inside at defensive tackle, why he increased Khalil Mack's sack totals, moving Mack over to the left side, to making him a left end so that he'd be going against right tackles, in combination with having Mario Edwards Jr. pushing the pocket up, forced the quarterback right into Khalil Mack. So again, it was 2 or 3 steps that he was short the year before. Now he was getting. Right? He was getting those sacks because he didn't have to take that extra step, and he was able to bring down those quarterbacks. So, again, if you think about it, this defense, they came in, they said, this is what we've got. We've got to make it work, okay? And they did the best that they could. The middle linebacker, again, he was another potato. So we had a couple of different potatoes on the team, right? And a potato is a guy that basically just kind of sits around a little bit and grows stuff every once in a while. Like stuff starts growing out of him, You want to stick a toothpick in him and put him in a glass of water so he can grow. But at the end of the day, they took what they had. And they said, okay, we got to make the best of what we'll do. We'll make a hybrid defense here. Then they went out and they shopped and they got the groceries, And for any of those head coaches out there, that want to be the general manager and they want to be the head coach and they want to do this, they want to do that. Look what we've done this offseason. You don't need to do that. You can have a general manager out there. You tell them, this is who I want. Go get him. I've got to worry about putting together the game plan. I got to worry about conditioning the guys. I got to worry about schedules and taking them on trips and making sure the game plan. I don't want to worry about contracts. I don't want to be like John Elway. Oh, I want to give you $100 million. Oh, no, you don't want it? Oh, great. What do we do now? I don't want to fill out contracts and make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So, again, they went out. They got the pieces that they needed to get. And now you're going to see, what Ken Norton Jr. can do. Okay. Cause this defense is looking sleek, fast, strong. I mean, driven, he's bringing in guys that are character guys, high motor guy. This is a defense that is not going to quit,
It's all there.
Yeah.
On paper.
They're going to keep throwing people at you. I think it's more than paper. I mean, we've had a lot of paper teams in the past. I think this football team, I think we're going to see it's not a paper football team.
Young and hungry.
It's a legit football. Thanks for the call, caller. We appreciate you calling in. Please call back again.
Thanks, Dave. Well, that was a good question, man. A lot of depth.
Hang on a second. Yeah. Hang on a second here.
Hey, this is Raider John. I'm from Austin, California.
Raider John.
Just want to say,
that was Raider John. We got to call him back.
Yeah. Give him a buzz back. We gotta get Mr. Confessions of a Raider fan on here. That's my boy.
hello?
Is this Raider John?
Yeah, it's Raider John.
Raider John, this is Raider Pirate with the Oakland Knight.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
How's it going, man?
Good, man. Going great. I love the show so far.
Yeah. What do you got for us? You got any tips, techniques, things, questions? What do you got?
Just technique, giving you guys a clearing all you can find it on all cylinders. I I just got a question, man. I wanted to know, who do you guys think is going to be the most difficult team we face outside of the division this year?
Who's going to be the most difficult team outside of our division this year?
There's a few different ones that pop into my head. One off the top of my head, because he's got us in the past, is that a Rex Ryan defense is always hard to play. So I look at the Buffalo Bills as something that is going to be a challenge for us. Outside of Buffalo, man, there's I'm not too worried about Tennessee, although Mariota shows some skill. Jacksonville, I think the one it intrigues me too, because they're on the same path as we are. And if you look at their last two drafts, and I'm really happy with our performance. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean they've really stocked up. Now the difference is we're biased and we believe in our coaches, but when you look at the talent that Jacksonville has added, yeah, you have to kind of circle that play date right there, man, and see how that's going to play itself out. They got receivers, they got a quarterback who doesn't make the best decisions but can get the ball down the field, and this defense with Dante Fowler coming back, and they got Malik Jackson in the middle now, and then they picked up Miles Jack. They're stacked, man. They're stacked, and it's going to be interesting to see how they put it together. I hope it's like the super team that they can't get to gel together, and we play them early enough too, so that might be a benefit to us. But yeah, I think those two teams right there are kind of off the grid for me. Scandi, what about you, Pirate?
I think Carolina obviously is going to be a tough one. The Texans, again, that's a tenacious pass rush. I think that's a really good defense. We play both of those teams at home, which is and as well as the Bills. So we play the Bills at home too. We got to go to Jacksonville. I don't know. You know what? I want to be somebody that's saying, and I know we have to be unbiased. That's something that we agreed on. But the biased part of me, which I'm able to be on the after show, the biased part of me thinks that we're just going to go in there and just kick the heck out of the Jaguars, because like you said, we're on the same path. A lot of people are saying they won free agency. A lot of people say they have a better quarterback than we do. A lot of people are saying that their draft is better than our draft. And I love their draft. I mean, if we could have gotten their draft, I would have definitely taken their draft, right? So, the Colts, it's going to depend. I mean, it's week 16. But those are the teams that I would look at. I don't know why, but as I look at that Falcon game, that week 2 game, I just get this weird feeling. I think we're going to go in to New Orleans. I think we're going to beat New Orleans.
That's because they're going to understand our defense. They're going to understand what we're doing.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just –
for some reason, we cannot win at home opener.
Well, and we're gonna be in New Orleans. I mean that's a tough place to play on a home opener. Going across the country to New Orleans to go and play. And it's a morning game. So then there's that Falcons game, and I think that's going to be tough. I think we're going to go in and we're going to beat the Titans pretty soundly. I think we're going to beat the Ravens again. I think we'll beat the Chargers and the Chiefs the first time we play them. I think we'll beat the Jaguars. The Buccaneers, again, that's dicey. But then I think we will probably lose to the Broncos. And the Texans, the Panthers, and the Bills. That's rough. It's all at home, though. The good thing is all 4 of those tough games are in Oakland. Now it hasn't meant much when we played really good teams. You know what I mean? But still, I mean.
Minus the Texans game. That's actually in Mexico. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. It's in Mexico.
That one, they still want technically that it's still home field advantage because good portion of it seems like freaking favorite.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, plus we're near LA and we own LA. Okay, so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
San Diego. One way we own that too.
Yeah, exactly. When we go to San Diego, that San Diego game, the 15th, man, we're gonna all try to be there. we're gonna try to do a show live from there. So we're gonna try to invade San Diego and do it right. Every time the Chargers play the Raiders anyway, there's more Raider fans than there are Charger fans at that time of year. So, but yeah, those are the games that I would say that kind of worry me. All 4 of those games right there, the Denver game, the Texans game, the Panthers game, and the Bills game. I think if we got enough momentum at that point, let's say we lose to the Falcons and maybe we lose to either the Jaguars or the Buccaneers, one of those 2. And look at that. Look at that. Look how jacked up that schedule is. So we play Kansas City at home. Then we have to fly to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars, fly back home, then fly back to Tampa Bay, right? Right after that. Then we got to fly back home to play our division rival on a Sunday night game, play the Denver Broncos on a Sunday night game. So that's a tough stretch right there. If you really look at it, then it's followed by the Texans, the Panthers, and the Bills. So you could start to lose a little bit in there. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say you're 5-1. Okay. Then all of a sudden you got the Jaguars, Buccaneers, Broncos, Texans, Panthers, Bills. So you could easily be back to, let's say, 6-4, 6-5, so I look at 10-6. My prediction is 9-7, 10-6. I think depending on what happens, we may not win the division, but I think we should definitely be at least getting into the playoffs.
Most definitely.
Anyways, I think, in my opinion, I think the hardest team we're going to face is probably going to be the outside division. Anyways, it's going to be the Panthers.
Yeah.
Because that firepower they got, and plus they got a beast on defense with all that stuff. But most definitely, I'm keeping an eye on Jacksonville, because you don't know what you're going to get, how that week comes up. And by that time, we'll know exactly what we're going to get out of that, whether or not it can match up. I'm looking forward to that shit. Anyways, that's going to do it. I just wanted to say what's up, Knight, and keep doing what you're doing, guys. I'm loving it, man. You guys are holding it down right now.
All right, we appreciate it, John. Thank you so much for calling.
All right.
Take care, brother.
Later,
Bye.
Later, John, ladies and gentlemen. We got all the guys calling in tonight. Much love to you, brother, and you and your family, man. Cool. Yeah, so Raider Lion's been trying to get a hold. Raider Lion, if you're listening right now, I sent you a link. You want to come in here and say what's up and say hi, jump in. It's hard for me to answer when we're live. I'm not going to answer my phone or text messages and stuff, guys. So if you guys have my personal number, it's hard for me to do and talk and communicate with Pirate and have my phone going off. So,
we kind of got a message in the email basically saying that we were getting on some really good points, and then the phone would ring, and then we were losing our points. So we'll have to try to figure that one out. We got to look into some. That's the one area right now that we're still
trying to figure
working on, is trying to figure out the screening and how to get what service to use and how to get people on hold and do all those types of things. So right now that's, we know that's the weak link at this point, but we're working on it. So if you are out there and you've been watching and we've confused the hell out of you, or the heck out of you, I should say, tonight, we're working on it. We'll get it turned around, and pretty soon we'll have a beautiful woman that's answering all of your calls, putting you on hold, and then you'll hear some AC/DC, right? And then you'll be on.
Or it'll be a big burly man with a really sexy voice.
Exactly.
You never know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding.
We have to figure out how to do it, but once we do, it'll be savage.
Yeah, the flow will be a lot better. It's kind of hard to manage the way we're doing it right now, but we think it's cool. We like the fact that you called in. We got a lot of great calls tonight, and we got a good solid 13 to 14 viewers, and that's what we're looking for, man. And we will stay on and talk football. We love doing it. So as long as we're getting the response and the phone calls and the questions, and we got a good flow, we don't mind staying on and answering questions. This is what we love to do. This is what we're here to do. So.
Yeah, we're trying to get it up to 100 viewers, man. 100 viewers, and then we'll take it to 200, and then we'll go from there. But we have to provide the good content and the good conversation, and get you guys interacting with us and coming back on a constant basis, and doing those types of things. So everybody's got to work. Everybody's out there doing all the stuff that they've got to do, going here, going there, picking up the kids, coming home from football practice or baseball practice, whatever's going on. So we understand that it's tough. But that's why we do these live things too, so that we can kind of, if you want, you can interact with us, and if not, you can watch the show at your convenience. So see what happens.
Yeah, and our vision is to keep it growing, and to get to where we can be even more content and have the content even be more superior than what you get from the NFL, which is kind of hard to do because they have all the inside track, right? But we want to be able to get the right kind of connections that can get us to give you more insight to what's going on with the Raiders. And the only way we could do that, guys, is with your help. And that's
absolutely
what we do, and being a part of what we do. You guys got to realize, you can start your own show, even whatever you want to do, but as long as you're supporting, calling in, sending us emails, giving us content, being a part, sharing the videos, going to the Facebook, liking the Facebook, that's what's going to get us on the inside for us to get the inside information. So we appreciate you. Just know that. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. Do we have any questions down there? Is there anything in the inbox?
Well, we got Lion stepped in. We need a Big Ben bell type of sound that goes off when he comes in. It's like dong, or something like that. The across the pond bell. How's it going, man?
It's going very good. It's going very good. Sorry I've joined you so late. I've literally, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. But no.
We haven't even
I'm
started.
just happy I could get on.
Hey,
yeah,
we
good.
Appreciate you, man. 5 o'clock, your bars stay open all night over there?
Oh, bars are still open now. Bars are still open now. Yeah, I've literally just got back. Considering I looked outside and it was getting light, and well, it's already getting light in the morning, so I just thought it's probably time to call it a night and get back. Check YouTube, and you're still online, so I thought, why not try to get hold of you guys, get online, and here I am.
Nice.
All
Were you able to
man.
watch the episode?
Pardon?
Were you able to watch the episode tonight?
I've watched about half of it so far when I was trying to get hold of you guys, and it looks so nice. It looks so nice. It's a really good job. So, Reddit Pirate, really, really nice job there. It's credit to you.
Is it choppy for you though?
I didn't notice anything like that.
Okay, because it's really choppy for us, man. It's like it's really slow just because we broadcasted it live.
It's not noticeably slow, but there's a little bit of lag at some places.
Yeah,
but yeah. It's minor. It's very minor.
Well, we're gonna put up the original as soon as I get everything worked out over here on my end. I had some real struggles today with it, so. But yeah, so yeah, watch it, man. It's we're gonna. I got your email also about some different things, so we're gonna talk about that on Sunday. Some different things that, different ideas that we have, and even stuff for next week. So, yeah, it's always fun putting those things together, man.
We've reached the part of the show where you guys are getting a little taste of behind the scenes Will to Win stuff here.
That's right. You're part of the production meeting right now. This is just a little bit of Q&A that we go through before we hash out the product that we're going to eventually put out there. We had a lot of callers, Lion. We had a few different people. Watch the after show. It's pretty funny. Tell us what you think.
I've watched actually. I've been watching for the last probably 20 minutes to half an hour, so I've seen quite a bit of callers and stuff like that. So I've just been like, I really want to get on. So you will see on Facebook, I've sent you probably about 5 calls each. I know I sent you probably a couple of. I've sent you a couple of emails, Oakland or Knights. So you've got several things from me. I've even commented on the original video. Can I get on, please, or something like that?
Oh, you know what, Max? I didn't even have my Facebook open. So I see that you sent Are you guys still live? You missed the call. What? You called into the number?
No, you can call through Facebook.
Yeah, so I kept hearing a noise, and then I looked, and that's when I sent you the email. It's kind of hard, like when we're live, it's hard for me to answer my phone, but I kept saying, what is that noise? And then I kind of looked over, and I was like, oh, Lion's calling. That's when I sent the link and sent you, to let you know that you can get on. So that's our bad once again, man. It's been a hectic week, but
that's fine. That's fine.
To jump on here, bro.
Yeah, no, man. Sorry about that. Yeah, we've had some technical issues and a few different things, but I didn't see it. Normally I have Facebook open, but I didn't have Facebook open, and I just opened it right now, and I see that. Yeah, I see the two. You sent two separate messages actually. One on the Jason and Max, and then one on the Max itself.
So we got you Grate commented right now just to let everybody know who's been supporting us all night. The Warriors just won, so they're up 3-1. So shout out to the community of Oakland. I mentioned it. We mentioned it. We kind of talked about it the other night in the pre-show that they haven't lost all season back-to-back except for against OKC. They proved it again tonight. So being up 3-1, go Warriors, huh? Good, bringing the title to Oakland and kind of setting the stage for us to come and do our thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. That's good because the whooping they took the other night was ridiculous.
Steph Curry dominated. Finally, Curry's come through.
Yeah, no, he's come through a couple times, but I mean, he's
been quiet. He's been quiet in the last couple of weeks. He's been
not himself. Right.
Well, I think that's the product of it takes a while to get back in sync. Remember, he missed a little over a month of playing time, and then you got to come back in the middle of the playoffs, and you got to redevelop your shot and everything else. That's the beauty of Golden State, like we were talking about with the Raiders today. Depth. When your key guys aren't firing, you bring in guys, that are coming off the bench and they're able to hit threes. Look at the game where they blew them out, and Green was hitting threes from and that's a big boy to be shooting threes. You know what I mean? So everybody on that basketball team can shoot the long ball. So that's what we're talking about. Like tonight we were talking about offensive line depth line. And how we feel this offensive line's going to do. And didn't you do some stuff? You did some stuff on Vidal Alexander. I think that's going to be on some future episodes. But did you look at anything on like Vidal Alexander? Not Alexander, Kirkland or there's a couple of linemen that they got.
Yeah, no, I did a couple of things. I did a undrafted free agent review on my channel literally after the draft. So I picked out the top 15 or so undrafted free agents. And Denver Kirkman was a guy that I had tagged as a 5th round draft pick.
Yeah, right.
And he fits the prototypical style of what Jack Derrill and Reggie McKenzie like. The 330 pounds, big monster to play in the interior.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether he's going to truly be able to make the team because I do think we've got an exceptionally strong offensive line class. But I definitely see him as being a free agent, a practice squad guy, comes someone to develop, bring through the ranks, and hopefully in the future, you never know, you may see him make the team. But it's interesting to see with this offensive line, because it is being tagged as one of the strongest in the league right now, and it's got a lot of potential lived up to. Reggie McKenzie's got to back up or show that Kelechi Osunwale was worth paying so much money. And even though I believe that he's truly going to slide over and be Donald Penn's replacement at left tackle, right now you're paying him some stupid amount of money to be a guard, and he's got to live up to that. And that's something that I'm really interested to see, whether truly moving Gabe Jackson over to the right side and having Kelechi Osunwale on the left side, it's actually going to truly be any different from what we've had in the past. And whether it's truly going to improve the line drastically. But Derek Carr should feel exceptionally confident behind that line, and especially with the depth that is there. I like John Feliciano a lot, even though he hasn't got much time on the field and has been limited and he's been thrown in due to injuries and stuff. He's a really nice player that can come on and develop. You've got Malik Watson, Austin Howard, who's going to be the backup tackle. Obviously you like him, but it's that interior. I don't know what's going to happen there exactly. I think losing Tony Bergstrom is losing that experienced backup, which you kind of plug in and play, which was what Khalif Barnes has been over the last couple of years, where any one position goes down due to injury on the offensive line, you just throw in Khalif Barnes because you've got him available. But it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, if we keep all our guys healthy, it should be a very dominant offensive line, and it should wreak havoc.
Yeah, my question, I don't know, Knight, if you know or if you know, Max, my question is, who's that backup left tackle?
I would say the backup left tackle, I'm going to say, is Assembly. I mean, I think if anything happens to Penn, they're going to slide him over. And then at that point, they have the options to either put in one of the young guys, but Alexander, or the other guy what's the other guy we picked up on draft?
Feliciano.
Yeah. Well, Feliciano would be the backup he would take. So that's where you have the big shift, right? Assembly shifts over to left tackle. You could bring Gabe Jackson back to left guard, and you could slide Feliciano in onto the right guard side.
That would totally throw off your entire
timing. It would throw off the timing a little bit, but I see them pulling something like that off. Otherwise, I still say I think that's why they want Osemele on the left side, because I see him the backup left tackle.
Well, I can see that, but I'm not talking about the replacement. I'm talking about the backup, and you can't have a backup that actually is playing next to the guy that could potentially be hurt, right?
If you take Baltimore for the last couple of seasons, they've plug and played. Oh, what's their right guard? The best guard in the league. I've forgotten his name. He's probably one of the only guys to make the top 100. I'm not sure Yanda. They've plug and played on left tackle, right guard, left guard, and even centre for one game, I think. And they just literally, through him being one of the best guys in the league, they just moved him around due to his talent. I think that's one thing that maybe his talent speaks more than anything else in this one day and age. It's not necessarily the continuity that you like. It's more just where you can get the talent. And I mean, maybe you're talking about continuity. If Austin Howard is, or say Matt Watson starts at right tackle, shift Matt Watson over for Austin Howard at right tackle. Or I was even going to say, if you want to move Austin Howard into that tackle, Gabe Jackson at that guard, and Austin Howard at the right guard, he's not going to play that.
Did that sound really weird, or was that just me?
Yeah, no, it did. You're breaking up a lot there, buddy. But
I
didn't know if it was just me or the Pirate got the same feed, but
yeah, your microphone. Say something, Max.
Hello.
Something's wrong with your microphone.
I think it may be my Wi-Fi connection instead, because you guys are breaking up on me.
Yeah, it must be your Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, because you're coming out dun, 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 like that.
I don't know whether it's just the Wi-Fi connection at 5 in the morning.
Try this, and if you want to try this, that's usually what happens when there's problems. Go ahead and click out, and then go back to that link and come back in. That usually resets the board. If you want to try that. Okay. Yeah. So is there any more questions? I saw something, Slim Steve, if you're watching. I know you wanted to ask a question, but it cuts off on my phone. I don't know if you got it over there, Pirate, but the number is still on the screen, Slim Steve. If you would like to call in and ask a question, you can feel free to do that at this time. The phone number is 805-907-9192. That's 1-805-907-9192. Anybody listening that wants to ask a question, speak now, forever hold your peace. It's getting pretty late. So, is Lion back in? You back in, Lion? Oh, no. Okay. So the number's still on the screen if anybody would like to call in and ask any questions. We'll check the message board.
We're actually up to 16 people.
Nice. So we actually got a good crowd. Wow. The Warriors game is over, so a lot of people might be jumping on right now and looking for the feed. So once again, a big shout out to the Warriors, man, for getting it done. 3-1, heading back into Oakland. It's pretty much a wrap. I kind of felt that way anyway. I knew they weren't going to lose. After they went up 2-0, I know they weren't going to lose 2 in a row. the last game the other night was horrific. I did not expect that. I expected the Cavs to jump on them and actually take that game, but not in that fashion. That was bad. But I love to see them bounce back in Cleveland, wrap it up, going back down to Oakland and finish it off for the fans that deserve it. The city of Oakland deserves the city, as far as the people the residents of Oakland deserve it. The city of Oakland at this point, man, they have some tough decisions to make as far as what they need to do to keep some of these sports teams around. So, but as far as the community itself, definitely. So, okay, go ahead and say something there, Max, and see if we got a good feed.
Is that any better?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah.
You're back. All right.
There we go.
Okay, where's the Slim Steve comment? I don't see it anywhere.
I don't know. It came up on my phone. He said it just jumped on here. Are you guys still taking questions? And then it looked like it would say if, and then if, and it cuts off on me. So when I try to go in through my phone, it doesn't let me into through my.
Oh, here we go. Hang on, fellas. Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Where are you calling from? Somebody said toilet paper. Did somebody just call from 909? From the 909. If you just called from the 909, you just cut out. We'll give you a second. I don't know if that was Slim Steve or not, but
yeah, I don't know. Slim Steve's been really supporting the show, so hopefully, Steve, if that was you and you hear this, I know it's the feed when they're watching, it's on a bit of a delay. So when you catch up to this point, Steve, call back if you want to.
There we go.
All right.
Caller, you're on. What's your name and where are you calling from? Do we want toilet paper?
Toilet paper. Right now.
It's a troll. We could just hang it up.
Hello, caller. You're online.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Slim Steve. I don't know who 909 is, but this is me, Slim Steve up here in Fort Lauderdale. That's 503, baby.
All right. What's going on?
How you doing?
What's going on, Slim
What's up,
Steve?
Steve?
Nada, man. Hey, man. I fell asleep, man. I forgot the damn show was on. Sorry about that. I took a nap.
It's
No,
all
there
good.
you
It's all good.
My question, and I may have been asked, I'm getting on this show kind of late, but what is your guys' thoughts on running back situation? I thought we got Latavius Murray, who was a Pro Bowler. We've got DeAndre Washington coming in. And this is a contract for Latavius Murray. So do you think now that we've got to pay Khalil Mack and probably Derek Carr and then Dave Jackson, and what do you guys think next year as far as, I'm thinking next year, as far as Latavius Murray? How much is he going to be worth it? I'm going to hang it up and listen to it off the air. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And all that you do,
Thanks, Steve.
Great supporter, Steve. Steve's also the one that made me one of the logos as well. That's Slim Steve. He's the one who made me the one that was on the channel before we switched over to the Will to Win. So, Slim Steve, another big shout out to you. So he wanted to basically know about the running backs. You know what? Let's throw Lion a bone. Lion, you still there? You can take this one.
All right, do you want me to start? All right.
Sure, go ahead.
I think the ultimate fact is that everyone's going to be looking at Latavius Murray now on the fact that you're looking at him now having a year under his belt, a true year under his belt, of being the workhorse back to truly take it this year and compete. But the problem is, what I'm seeing is that Reggie McKenzie has done such a fantastic job drafting players over the last couple of years, is that at some point or somewhere you're going to have to cut someone. And I personally absolutely adored DeAndre Washington. I mean, beyond belief, I love him. I think he's going to be a fantastic complement to Latavius Murray, similar to what we wanted in Roy Halou when we took him as a free agent last year. But Latavius Murray is a guy that I'm wanting a little bit more from. I'm wanting to see that explosion from that Kansas City game where he burst out, had like 4 carries for 120 yards or something like that. you want to see that explosion, you want to see the burst, and at times last year you didn't really seem to get that. I don't know whether it was down to him just having maybe overworked and tiredness and stamina issues being a factor of playing in, whether it was just the fact that he didn't have it and wasn't able to find the holes. But with the ability to find running backs throughout the draft class this year, and I want to make the note of this, I've already started looking towards the 2017 draft class, and this will be, and this is, I'm just going to make this statement here, the best running back draft class in the last 20 years, easily. And that's not even, I mean, this is easily the best running back draft class. I may even go thus far ever, because of the talent that's on paper now. You've got some ridiculous players, and wherever you're sat in the first round, you're going to have one of those guys available. You're going to have either Royce Freeman, Christian McCaffrey, probably not Leonard Fournette or Dalvin Cook, but Samaje Perine, Wayne Gallman. There are a ridiculous amount of fantastic running backs. And so if there's any doubt or any question mark over Latavius Murray this year, and if Reggie McKenzie sticks to his best player available situation, you're going to take a running back in next year's draft class, because the talent there is stupid, and you should be able to get one of the. I mean, that's all I've got to say. If there's any doubt in Reggie McKenzie's head, and we can't answer this question because we don't see the workouts, we don't see the work that's put off the field, the interviews or whatever, the knowledge or the extra work, regardless. If there's any doubt in Reggie McKenzie's head over Latavius Murray being the workhorse back to the future for the Raiders, we will draft a running back in the first round, because the talent there is stupid in the 2017 draft class. And when I mean stupid, I mean absolutely bonkers, berserk. It's never been seen before stupid. But drafting DeAndre Washington, I think, is going to be a perfect complement for Latavius Murray this year. And honestly, I'm interested to see what he does. Hopefully he's going to get more than 4 yards a carry on average. I want to see it more up to the 4.3, pressing for 4.4 realistically. 4.3 is, I think, what's classed as a true workhorse lead back in the NFL. But it's going to be interesting to see. I don't like him as a true out-and-out back. If you're going to say put him up against most of the other backs in the NFL, and this is always a good comparison, if you're going to say put him up against the top 15 other running backs in the NFL, I don't think he'd make that list, or he'd be right down the bottom of it. Maybe that's a good indication of maybe the fact that it's more that our O-line, or potentially the situation we put him in, is helping him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I looked at, we just talked about that a little earlier. I think in this draft class there was one superstar back that could block, that could run, that could catch the ball, that hit the hole. I mean, he had a low running style, was a big-time back, and that was Ezekiel Elliott. And then if you looked at everybody else in this draft class, whether it was Henry, Booker, Dixon, the kid from Arkansas, Collins, the backs from Alabama, Drake, those guys were all more the plotters, the big, strong, pounding guys. Then you had a bunch of guys like C.J. Prosise, Paul Perkins, Tyler Irvin, and they were just little small dudes, right? Little skinny dudes that are kind of shifty. And then you had a bunch of athletes and things like that. In next year's draft, you've got, there's 5 or 6 legitimate all-around backs. I mean, all-around backs, right? So you would imagine 6 Ezekiel Elliott's in next year's draft, right? Are they all going to be Ezekiel? Are they all going to be great backs or whatever? No, none of us knows. There could be some backs from this particular draft that turn out to be really, really good. In the right system, Derrick Henry's going to be a really good running back. But he's got to have an offensive line like ours, an offensive line that pushes guys 3 or 4 yards back and opens up a hole that you could drive a bus through, and then he's going to pound and punish some defenses. And the same thing with these little shifty runners. They can't be your every down back, even if you have a good offensive line. It's just like Reggie Bush. You're going to get that guy injured on a constant basis. So you either had, sort of big power backs or complementary speed, space type of backs in this draft. Next year is I've started looking at it already too. And I can already see that, like you said, you know, even if you're picking number 31 next year, it's going to be like the defensive tackles this year, right? If you're picking in the second round or the third round, you're still potentially going to be able to get you know, a decent a player that's going to do very good. Look at us this year. We talked about defensive line. Who did we get in the third round? Shalik Calhoun, right? In drafts in the past, you know, 10 years, he's a second round guy. You know, maybe even a first round guy in some drafts, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of depth next year in the running back position. We talked about this already. I agree. I think Latavius Murray runs too high. He doesn't have enough power. He doesn't have enough game. You know, it's interesting, and Knight, maybe you could touch on this, but it is interesting that he has such a high yard per carry average, and yet he never seems. He only seems to break 1 or 2 long runs per season. You know what I mean, like a 90-yard run or whatever. But he seems to stay up there in that, you know, 4.5 yard per carry average.
You have to look at the offense as a whole in that situation. We run the ball early or we run the ball late, but we never ran a consistent running game. We always went away from it or never stuck with it. So he got his yardages up. He got his big burst, especially off the right side. But we were primarily a passing team. We let Carr throw the ball a lot last season, so he could get his numbers up. That's why his numbers are confusing. You know, 1,066 yards rushing, an alternate in the Pro Bowl, and yet we talk about him like, you know, wow, we don't really see a lot from him. That's because there was no consistency.
Right.
Like I said, it's either early on or late in the game. It was never from first quarter to fourth quarter Latavius Murray taking over a game. With the exception of the Jets game, we really brought in a consistent running game in that game, but once again, I mean, like, as a whole, when I look at the running back, we talk a lot. This goes for all 32 teams, by the way. You guys are already looking into the draft. I haven't looked into next year's draft at all yet, so you guys are definitely ahead of the game when it comes to that. But I did understand that the running game was going to be strong, the running backs. But you got to understand, all these 32 teams, they already know that too. Their scouting department don't go to these games and just watch the guys that are coming out next season. They got their eyes set on stars, guys that are playing already well, whether they're freshmen, sophomores, what have you. So trust me, the Reggie McKenzie, the scouting department, they knew that this next draft there's going to be some running backs to get. That's why they held off. They didn't push for Derrick Henry. They didn't go pushing for Ezekiel Elliott. Although a lot of people said the Raiders should go get Elliott. They stood back and were like, "Why? We could get Carl Joseph."
There was the big rumor that and it circulated monumentally about 2 weeks before the draft class. If Elliott was there at 14, we were running to the podium.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't think so.
I think that's a no-brainer. But we didn't have that. That wasn't. I think what Knight's trying to get at is Reggie wasn't going to trade away the future to move up to try to get him at number 4.
When is Reggie? Actually, think about this. Of the last 3 draft classes, the important draft classes, when has he truly ever traded up, apart from Connor Cook?
He didn't give up a draft pick. He gave up a draft pick, but we still had 7. He still kept his 7. He got the one that we got for, I believe, is that the one that we got for Butler? Butler, right? So, yeah, so he used that one to move up. So essentially, he used Butler to go up and get Connor Cook. That's the way I look at it. So, in the big picture of things, though, they knew that, right? They knew, okay, we're going to have all these opportunities, and they kind of sit back and they went after their system guy, which was Carlos Joseph. Now, and also all the reports, they believe, like I said, 4.0 average, 1,066 yards rushing. On an average running team, we didn't stick with it. We never really committed to it because I believe that they felt they didn't have the tools. And when you watch the games, it's crazy because I seen a lot of just running into walls, right? So they think that they still have something in Murray. They liked what they got out of DeAndre Washington. They have a year to play. They still got Hulu, Tywan Jones, Olawale, Marcel Reese. There's some pieces there, but if it doesn't work out, they knew coming up next year, we'll fix it. We're good. We still got good receivers. These running backs are good enough. The offensive line is beefed up. So, once again, hats go off to Reggie McKenzie and the scouting department for really dotting their I's and crossing their T's because it's all laid out there, right there for us.
Well, you know what, too? Look at it this way. We got a 5th-round pick for a player that they didn't want. So obviously they didn't want Bryce Butler, even though he tore it up in all the preseasons, and he was a guy that we kept saying, put him in there. What the hell are you guys doing? This guy's he is making plays consistently. We didn't have any receivers, but we still weren't using him. So they got a 5th-round pick for a player that they didn't want, which then allowed them to get Connor Cook in the 4th round. Now, if Connor Cook has a decent season, or a decent preseason, I should say, you can now then turn around next year and take your 1st-round pick with Connor Cook and go up there and go and get yourself a running back, right? A real running back. So let's say we're at 22 or 28 or 30 or wherever we are. If you can package that together with a potential quarterback of the future. So let's say Connor Cook comes in and he lights it up during the preseason. But so does Derek Carr, right? And so does Matt McGloin, because Derek Carr and Matt McGloin have been in the system for a while. Now you release Matt McGloin. You keep Connor Cook on. You go into next year now, and you've taken that Bryce Butler pick that you traded to get Connor Cook. Now you trade Connor Cook in your 1st-round pick in order to get, let's say, Fournette or McCaffrey, right? Somebody that could be a game changer.
No, yeah, and if you look at the Connor Cook situation, because you're hitting on a lot of great points, Pirate. People said, why Connor? Why do that? Why? And let me just say this about Bryce Butler. They liked Bryce Butler. That's why he made the roster. They wanted Bryce Butler. But when they looked at the situation as a whole, they saw opportunity. And when opportunity comes your way, you don't always turn the other cheek. Now, him and Seth Roberts had a great battle in last training camp, but they really liked. I mean, it was so close you could have went either way. They chose Seth Roberts. He fit what they were doing. They liked him, right? So at one point, you could have easily said, okay, Cooper, Crabtree, Roberts, Butler, Holmes, Streeter's the odd guy out. Instead, Dallas gets in a situation, all of a sudden Dallas is on the phone, and you're like, we like Butler, but he's like 4th, 5th on our roster right now, so he's tradable because you can't keep everybody all the time. And when you're dealing with 4th, 5th, 6th position, the wide receiver, I mean, you're good. He was expendable. They were smart enough to get rid of him, get something for him, because, I mean, long term, it worked out because you're still going to be running with Cooper, you're still running with Crabtree, Roberts, Holmes, etc. So, it was all the way around. It's smart, and like you said, even if they don't trade Cook next year and package him up, they give him another. You had to have a good backup in this league. McGloin's gone. You still got Cook. You let him play a couple seasons, show himself. Now, people, there's going to be a team out there that's in need of a quarterback. There always is, And that's when you package him up and you go get that other piece, whether it's running back, cornerback. Maybe it's going to be our new left tackle of the future that we use him to trade up and go get. So once again, I think it's brilliant. I think what they're doing over there is brilliant.
Lion?
I don't really have anything more to add. I think you guys have all touched on the brilliant points. All also is the Connor Cook pick is that I know you guys have brought up pretty much everything to that. I think it was such a clever bit of business, though. And even though some people, and I know there is a small group of people that truly actually believe that he will replace Derek Carr. If that does happen, then fair enough to them, they were right. But I think that was not only a clever bit of business to get an exceptionally high potential backup for the meantime, but also a trade weight and a chess piece in the future to use in a situation where Oakland are going to be able to develop. Because in the next 5 years, hopefully, we're going to be consistently in that playoff area. And if, say, in 2-3 seasons, we're able to use Connor Cook as a make weight to move up 10 slots in the draft class and turn our 25th pick in the first round into a, let's say, 10th pick in the first round, you're going to be able to dramatically change a team just with one player. And there are always teams looking for quarterbacks. I mean, to be honest, right now, the Browns, I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted 1 or 2 more, because supposedly they love RG3.
And the touch base on that, because you brought up a good point there, is, there is a handful of people that we know that we have some Derek Carr haters, and it is fair to say that the Will to Win broadcast team here is Derek Carr supporters. However, as much as we like Derek Carr and we think that he is our future, if Connor Cook comes in and proves that he's better than Derek Carr, are we really losing anything? Or are we just gaining? You know, that if we found a guy that's better than Derek Carr in our minds, if Connor Cook comes in and proves to us that we should be rooting for Connor Cook, then we probably most likely have another Tom Brady on our hands or another Peyton Manning type kind of caliber player on our football team, because Derek Carr has already shown that he has all the skill set. If Connor's better than him, then everybody should really be fearful about what the Raiders could bring in.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
future.
Derek Carr's getting the comparisons from multiple people, and this is something that's always quite surprised me. James Jones initially always mentioned it from the get-off, but multiple other players have said that he's got Aaron Rodgers-esque ability and spin and flick and just accuracy and decision-making. And that, if Connor Cook can beat out Derek Carr, as you've just said, fair enough, completely fair enough, because I'm not going to complain, because of any players who know infinitely more than we do, we are literally just chattermouths. Those guys play this sport and do it for a living and know it so far much more than we do. If they say that Derek Carr is as good as that, I mean, who are we to really truly question them? And if Connor Cook can truly beat up Derek Carr, even after all of that has been mentioned, hell, people should honestly be terrified of us.
Right.
Because combined with Cooper, Crabtree, and Murray, and our own line, and hopefully a Clyde Wolford who's shown the potential, I mean, that's just people of. If Connor Cook does, absolutely fair enough to him. And it's the thing that I've just said. I know he's gone out and said he's going to compete and he's going to try to become the best player he can be. Fair enough to him. But if he does beat out Derek Carr,
then watch
Denver,
out.
we're coming for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's not going to beat out Derek Carr.
No, he's not. I'm just making that point.
Yeah, we have to be realistic, and I'm not married to Derek Carr. He's my guy. I appreciate what it is that he does. I think he's, like you said, he's got all the intangibles. He's got the hard work ethic. He's a leader. I think he makes people around him better. I think he's the type of quarterback, like we talked about, that certain quarterbacks are game managers, and other guys make everybody else around them better. And I think he's one of those types of quarterbacks. He's got the experience. He knows the system. He's familiar with the offensive coordinator. He's familiar with the entire team. So I think, barring injury, there's zero chance that Connor Cook comes in. Connor Cook already, one of the big problems with him in college was his accuracy issues. He was having some accuracy issues. He's very similar to Derek Carr in terms of his ability to throw the ball, his understanding of defenses, his ability to make line calls. So he's a very cerebral type of player. But Derek Carr has some intangibles already, that far surpass what Connor Cook can do. Now, the question is, again, barring injury. So now let's say, for example, some catastrophic injury happens to Derek Carr. Again, this is a very good pick, because if a catastrophic injury happens to Derek Carr, Matt McGloin, who we all know has some deficiencies, who is not like Derek Carr, let's face it. If you're talking poor, Derek Carr is a poor man's Aaron Rodgers, well, McGloin is a blunt version of Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not there. He's not going to take your team anywhere, right? So in my opinion, what I'm looking for, I think it's a good pick. I didn't like it when we made the pick. I'll be the first one to sit here and be like, what? There's still good players on the board. But again, thinking about it, understanding where Reggie came from, understanding how Green Bay wants to groom quarterbacks so they can potentially either use them as trades or have them as solid backups, we're in a much better position. And we talked about this before. It's about depth. We're in a better position from a depth perspective, I think, with Connor Cook on this football team than we were last year.
Sorry, just about in. If anyone actually questions the fact that Green Bay don't do this, look at what they're doing with Brett Hundley.
Oh, no, Green Bay do it. Green Bay does it constantly. Green Bay's done it for 12, 14 years. They started doing it with guys behind Brett Favre. You know, the Patriots do it as well. You know what I mean? They'll bring in a guy.
What they're doing with Brett Hundley. Brett Hundley was considered in 2013 a potential first overall pick, and to fall, I think 5th round they got him as well, and so they are definitely, most certainly grooming him because he has got so much talent. But I was just going to make the point that you talked about Derek Carr and the ability he has and the work ethic and everything like that. It's what you've seen over the last couple of draft classes that Reggie McKenzie has looked for. He's looked for those guys that are hard-working and can get the job done and are not going to be afraid to put those extra 5-10 hours in a week. And there's a brilliant story. I don't know whether you guys have heard it. Oh, I'm just going to say it for the fans anyway. It's Derek Carr's down at training. I think it's about 6:30 in the morning. And he just sends Amari Cooper a text message out the blue. Hey, I'm down at the local high school gym. I don't know whether you're up. Do you want to come down and do training?
Hang on.
And within 2 minutes, Amari Cooper has responded and said, yeah, sure, I'll be down there in 15 minutes. And it's that kind of brilliant thing. Amari Cooper has bought a house directly next to Derek Carr. It's just that work ethic, that leadership, those intangibles that you want to see between a number 1 receiver and the quarterback. And Derek Carr has been able to truly lead this team and make this team his own. And I love the jokes that kept on going on between Khalil Mack and Derek Carr, where Derek Carr walks into the locker room constantly or is on the sideline, points at Khalil Mack and goes, I can see why they picked you first. And it's a brilliant work ethic and a brilliant mentality that is being created in the locker room. And it's brilliant to see. Not only that, because it seems to tie the team together, but also the fact that you've got the 2014 draft class, as Derek Carr said multiple times, created a pact. They created a pact among themselves. We will enact change on this team. We will make a difference. And for fans hearing that they're not just taking this as an easy way to earn some money and move on to potentially a next job or earn some money potentially what Von Miller is doing right now, where he's rejecting this $130 million contract. It shows they truly care about being a part of this team and growing and developing as a unit and becoming a family in a sense, so that we can look back in 4 or 5 seasons and say, we know where these guys come from. They're loyal, they've stayed there, and they've built it into a playoff and championship, hopefully, a championship-winning team. And it would be so nice to look back, especially for, say, Reggie McKenzie, and for any doubters or questioned him, they'll just be completely written off, because he can just go, 2014, this is the basis of our entire team. And right now, the 2014 draft class is. I mean, you think about it, right guard, Gabe Jackson. I mean, that's forgetting the top 2 draft picks, which everyone knows, Khalil Mack and Derek Carr. If you go around the rest of the draft class, only one of that 2014, only one person from that 2014 draft, 2 people, sorry, from that 2014 draft class aren't on the roster anymore. And one of them is only because of maturity issues, and that was not because of lack of talent. And Shelby Harris is still on a roster at New York Jets.
Right. Right. Now, I personally like Shelby Harris, but I think I kind of like our replacements a little more as far as size and what we're trying to do. So, well, I mean, once again, no, I think Reggie's done a good job. The only thing that's going to get Reggie out of the doghouse for a lot of people, though, is we got to make the playoffs. I mean, and I think we will, but I think that's the final step because everybody's going to be skeptical until we finally get over that hump and push for our division and make the playoffs. And then once that happens, I think everybody's tone will finally change with Reggie. But I've been supporting Reggie since I've been on YouTube, man. So I've been battling for that guy forever because I saw his vision. It took me a while, but I finally saw exactly what he was doing and what he was building, and I stuck by him, and I'm glad I did. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of about doing this is that I saw it, I stuck by it, and defended him year in and year out, and now the fruits of me doing that are paying off, and as well as I'm enjoying that with him. That's pretty cool.
Well, and I think it was hard for us as fans. You know, Al Davis wasn't into deconstruction and reconstruction. You know, Al Davis always said we're reloading. You know, we're not rebuilding. We're reloading. And you know, when Reggie came in, I think it was, if you were to ask me 3 years ago, you know, would I like it? What we've been through the last couple of years, obviously you'd say no. You don't want to go into a season and go, not this year. After game one, not this year. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That's horrible. That's a horrible thing to do.
But the thing is, if you went in 4 years ago and made a checklist when Reggie McKenzie started about what you wanted, the only thing that is off that checklist right now, and I'm genuinely serious about this, is playoffs. The only thing that is missing from that checklist is playoffs. You've got pro ballers. You've got a franchise quarterback, hopefully. You've got all pros through Khalil Mack. You've got guys that are probably going to be in top 20 of top 100. And the only thing that is missing is playoffs. You've got your head coach. You've got your backroom staff. You've got the players. You've got the roster. You've got the talent. The only thing that is missing for Reggie McKenzie to be classed as a failure, and I do use that in inverted commas because I see him in no way a failure, and I've argued quite recently on my channel that if we do fail to make the playoffs, in no way should he be fired, because I think that he's built a fantastic roster and done everything in his power to truly set the team up for success.
I know his job for me is pretty much safe at this point. I think Mark sees it, and I think Mark's got his back at this point. I mean, now granted, we can't go 4-12 or something like that, but we all know that.
Even if we do, I mean, I think the key here to look at is it's not going to be Reggie McKenzie's fault. Now it's like Autumn Wind was saying earlier. The players got to play. The coaches can't get out on the field. The general manager, I can get the best meat. I can get the best organic vegetables, and I can get the best seasoning and give it to somebody who could still take it and burn it and, mess it up. And that's not to say that Jack Del Rio is going to do that, but the point is that Reggie McKenzie has got, just like Lyon stated, he's got pro bowlers. He's got, guys that can come up and be depth. He's got guys that can play the positions. He's taken what was barren and he's gone out and he's continued to draft and get more things. So at the end of the day, even if they did go 4-12 at this point, you can't sit there and say, oh, they didn't go out and spend money in free agency. Oh, they didn't draft very well. They haven't been drafting very well the last 5 years. He's doing all the things that you would want your general manager to do. Right, so at that point, you could say they can go 4-12, and he would probably still be able to, play again next season, barring massive injuries, in which case the entire coaching staff will probably be back, minus, who we all think is going to be Musgrave. Jack Del Rio fired him before; he'll fire him again. I think Del Rio is afraid of Ken Norton. I think Ken Norton just might go crazy and his dad was a boxer, you know what I'm saying? So you kind of go, all right, I don't want to get that guy mad. But I can certainly tell Bill Musgrave that he's got to leave. I've done it before. I can do it again if it gets to that point, right? I don't think he's really afraid of it.
I think there's a problem in doing that where you're going to look at the fact of ruining Derek Carr. I mean, in 4 years, if you fire Musgrave at the end of this year, he'll have gone through 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. Yeah. And for a young player coming in the league, you can't have that. You need to have continuity. And this is why, this is why it's going to be very nice for us this year to have Derek Carr going into his 3rd season with the 2nd year under an offensive coordinator, for him to be able to have the same QB coach, same offensive coordinator, and be able to hopefully show a lot more progress and development.
Yeah, but in the NFL, basically that happens all the time. So we see quarterbacks having 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 different years, like pretty constantly. It just depends on what happens. My point is more or less, let's just say, for example, there's some injuries, okay, some key injuries. Because of those key injuries, the offense doesn't play as well as it should. Are we going to fire the head coach that we all feel is taking us in the right direction? Are we going to fire the defensive coordinator whose defense has been playing really well? Are we going to get rid of the general manager? Or are we going to turn around and try to find a scapegoat? And in most cases, the offensive coordinator becomes the scapegoat. That's why so many quarterbacks, even though it's probably the 2nd most important position on the coaching staff, right? So your head coach is going to be your most important position. Your 2nd most important is probably offense, because you're dealing with the quarterback who handles the ball in every single play. So my point isn't that you do it because you want to wreck Derek Carr. My point is simply that even if they have injuries and even if they do go 4-12, Ken Norton Jr. is on the up and come. Jack Del Rio, I think, is going to be secure there for a couple of years. I don't think that the general manager is going anywhere. We just talked about why he's doing such a good job. So the one guy, the one scapegoat, even if they have a fairly consistent offense, the nation is split on Bill Musgrave. That's just the way that it is. Now, again, we got the prove it year, so let's see what happens, and let's see if this offense becomes prolific. But if it does, it's going to be the result of Derek Carr and not the offensive coordinator. And if it doesn't, it's going to be largely due to the offensive coordinator, right? So that's just my opinion. Like I said,
I agree.
I'm hoping that we don't have the injuries and the 4-12 season, but that's how it's happened in the past. Consistently in the past, we've just dumped the offensive coordinators.
Well, and in saying that too, and another great point to add to that is that when you look at Jack Del Rio, he's defensive minded anyway. So Ken Norton's his guy. They're working together. He's looking for somebody that he could put enough faith in to run the offense. And if he feels at any point Bill Musgrave's not the guy, he wants a guy that, hey, I want you guys to run the offense. I don't want to have to worry about this. I don't want this on my plate. I'm a defensive guy. This is where I make my money right here. So, Bill Musgrave's got to prove to Jack, and he failed before, I guess. But Jack was a younger coach back then, so I think he's got a little bit more patience, a little bit more understanding, and I don't really see that Brian Leftwich was anything close to what Derek Carr was. So there's a lot of different intangibles going on.
Gerard.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of things in Musgrave's favor, but the other thing is that, like you said, if the offense takes off, it's because we gave it to Carr. And, no, it's something that Musgrave, and that's one thing I'm going to say for as far as the will to win goes. If this offense blows up, I'm going to defend Musgrave for making sure that he's the one who got Carr ready. He's got to get credit where credit's due. If we're going to give him the blames for our woes last year, when anything turns around, he's got to get a lot of the credit, even for Derek Carr's success, right? For putting the game plan and for teaching him the system and laying it out for him to do his thing.
Well, we know as fans, again, when it's the offensive coordinator, when we're sitting there calling out the play and we know that it's not going to work,
right?
That's on the offensive coordinator. That is squarely on the shoulders of the offensive coordinator. It's 3rd down and 9, and you're like, oh, he's going to throw, a comeback, at the sticks or whatever, and it's going to be a little bit short, or it's, 3rd and 12, and he's going to try to run a draw and pick up the 12. We're going to outthink these guys, and there are times that I sat there and I knew what they were going to do over and over and over again, and that, like I said, that's I don't know enough about Ken Norton's defense and Jack Del Rio's defense. I know enough about what Musgrave was doing. I watched it enough to know that it was ineffectual in what it was that they tried to do last year. Now, when the running game, when they were able to run the ball, like we talked about tonight, when they were able to be balanced and Derek Carr was able to sling it down the field, it was a prolific offense. But as soon as the running game wasn't working, there were just a lot of misfires. So, like I said, I can tell when it's Musgrave and I can tell when it's Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I'll just say it like that. And a lot of times it was Musgrave, and not as many times was it Derek Carr, because again, I think if you're going to tell me, hey Pete, here's how we're going to do something, and I want you to do it this way, that's the way I'm going to try to do it, right? Then if you're going to come back to me and be like, hey, we're not being successful, what's wrong with you? I'm going to go, but I did what you did. I can guarantee you when Derek Carr is sitting down in that film room on Monday, he's not having to make a lot of excuses. You know what I mean? He's playing in the system, I made the read. I saw the safety came up. I knew that they were going to drop into a cover 2 zone. So I knew that the play was designed to go to Walford, but that wasn't going to work because the middle of the field was going to be covered by the inside linebacker. The way that the outside guy cheated up, I slid the protection over to the left. I just misfired. I was off by a second, but it's because the running back got caught in the flat or whatever it is. And the offensive coordinator's got to sit there and say, yep, that's how we drew it up. That's pretty much how we drew it up. You know what I mean? That's what you do. So they're not mad at him the way that the fans are mad at him. The fans are sitting there like, what the? And that's because we see one guy that's not even in the progression, and that's why that guy's wide open, by the way, right? Because the other team knows that he's the 5th read, so they feel like they can get enough pressure on him before he can get to the 5th read. You know what I'm saying? So when we see that one, well, clearly you can see here Seth Roberts is wide open. Yes, but Seth Roberts was the 5th guy in that pattern. The defensive coordinator knew that. The defensive coordinator called the perfect play, so that weakness in his defense was never exposed. And that's a good defensive coordinator.
Right. But also some offensive coordinators, and it's doing it more so this day, will call, say, a play like that to highlights what coverage a defense is in. So we do it over here, and we copy a lot of what the Seattle Seahawks do, ironically, in a far less superior way. But we will say, call a play, offensive play, run it, so that we can see what coverage the defense are running in, and so we know exactly where they're going to be running, and so who's going to be coming free. So you say run a play, and Seth Roberts is going to be free, and even though he's the 5th read, you'll adjust the systems that he becomes, say, the 1st read in the next one, or the 2nd read, to get him open. And Musgrave allows it to be that. But Musgrave also, specifically, and I love this about it, his offense contains the tempo so quickly, so if needs be, and if they want to put pressure on defense, it can go up tempo so nice and quick, and it can also go deep. What I love about it, and that's the benefit of having Amari Cooper, we can literally run every single route tree with him. Whether we're going to run a post route, a go, or anything you want. I don't want to get too complicated and go into X, Y, Z and everything like that. But everything about it, and it's the benefit of having a top-tier receiver. You can run everything. Yeah. And Musgrave now has that opportunity with a healthy Amari Cooper to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's one thing, and I hope that it gets better, and I hope that it was injury, but when I saw them in the Pro Bowl, I saw Amari Cooper struggling to get separation in the Pro Bowl. I saw T.Y. Hilton just blowing by guys, and that's the throw that Carr made to Hilton that just, split the two of them. And Hilton was just catching balls left and right. And I don't see the separation from Cooper that I see from guys like Hilton or Julio Jones or some of those big guys. Now, again, it was his first year. He was a rookie. He's learning the dynamics. He's going to get better. I'm just hoping that he's not that sort of second-tier guy as opposed to being that just rip the top off game breaker type of guy. He made some incredible plays jumping up in the air and catching balls and bringing them down and taking them away from people. But when I saw Derek Carr throwing to T.Y. Hilton, it was kind of like when I saw Rich Gannon throwing the ball to Tony Gonzalez in those Pro Bowls. I mean, it was just like
there's a massive difference between those two, because I think T.Y. is the guy that he's a guy that you can send over the middle, but he's also one you're going to be able to. He provides Andrew Luck an opportunity to throw deep constant time. What Amari Cooper is much more. He's more of a physical receiver, I think, and I wouldn't compare him in the sense of Julio Jones or Des Bryant in sense, but he likes to have contact a little more. I think the play that really stands out from his rookie season, so much so in everyone's mind, is that wide receiver screen against the Chargers, where he juked about 3 or 4 people and completely bamboozled the defense. I think that's the play that stands out, and that's what Oakland want to do with him. He can create mismatches on his own. And in one-on-one situation with the ball in his hands, you'd back him every time. And that's what he was so good at college. But also with college, he doesn't necessarily get the reception through straight line speed. he gets it through the silky route running, and he gets it through the ability, say, running a hitch.
Well, he's fast too. I mean, let's
Oh, yeah, no,
face it.
he's a 4-4 runner. No, I'm not taking away from him that he's fast. He's a 4-4 runner. What I'm saying is, you're more going to see, say he's running a hitch, a 5-yard hitch. The 5 yards out, and then he's going to come back, or saving a hitch, go better. His route running is so much crisper than a lot of people's. He's going to be able to throw people off the scent. And hopefully, if they're running, say, a bump and run coverage, or I don't know, a cover 3, he's going to be able to get that separation naturally because of the way his route running has enabled defenses to be wary of him.
Well, I'm not comparing him to any of the bigger guys like that, like Des Bryant or any of those guys. I think he's more like an Antonio. What's his name from Pittsburgh?
Brown.
Antonio Brown. God, I have no idea why I couldn't. I was like, Antonio Brown from Pittsburgh. I think he's more of a shifty type guy like that. What I'm saying is, we don't have somebody in this offense like a T.Y. Hilton, and when you see Derek Carr with T.Y. Hilton, you can clearly see he would be so much more prolific if we did have a straight line player like that. And I've seen T.Y. Hilton do, for Andrew Luck, do a lot of stuff, run a lot of skinny posts and things other than just, streaks down the middle of the field and things like that. So he's run across the middle, he's made some plays, and he's done some different things.
Well,
the bottom line is...
That's why everyone's expecting Jaden Mickens to make the team, the undrafted free agent out of Washington, because he's got that turn of pace. He's got that ability to take the top of the defense. That
beyond that too, though, Lion, we were talking about this earlier. That's the guy that they were pointing out in a press conference that we listened to that has return abilities, and that's what we're looking for in that fifth and sixth spot. Of the receiving core is a guy who's going to be able to do punts and kickoffs with that speed.
I mean, I've said for the last couple of months that Reggie McKenzie drafts specifically to get that one specific kick and punt returner, and he almost would just like that player to be exclusively a kick and punt returner, or kind of similar to that role, more like a Percy Harvin for the Seattle Seahawks kind of player. I mean, that's the type of talent you want. And I think in its own right, if you've got a player that could do that, there's so much.
That's what they wanted from DeBose that they didn't get. That was the big letdown there.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. When you do something like that. I mean, we're just waiting for it to happen. It's going to hit. It's going to hit at some point where somebody's going to come along and they're just going to pick up that return duty, and like everything else, this team is going to get stronger in that particular area. That's the third area that we've been waiting on for many years. And there was even some talk that Cooper could get back there and do some different things, but he's way too valuable.
Well, he did get back on a couple of punt returns. I think he did get back on a couple of kickoffs as well. But If he's getting injured, and I think this is why TJ Carey was taken off as well. If he's getting injured, you don't want your star number one receiver as a kick or punt returner.
Right.
Period. I mean, that just needs to be sorted out. You need to have your star. It's like, for example, you're not going to put Derek Carr as the holder during a bloody field goal. You're not going to do that because it's stupid. Why would you risk it getting injured?
Right.
And you just need to have that sensible one position. But you can see with Reggie McKenzie's act, he's tried with Andre DeBosi to get him. Trindon Holiday, he's tried to get, I think, 2 of the free agent guys that we've gotten that I can't remember the names of and probably aren't going to make the roster are specific punt return and kick return guys.
Right.
So he likes that idea.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like Knight said, injuries happen and it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? And then you're stuck having to use somebody that you don't want to use. I mean, it's like we talked about earlier. Special teams is kind of like the gypsy unit. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't have the continuity of the offense or the defense. I mean, it's got guys that are brought in, like we're talking about, drafted or unrestricted free agents, and then you've got a guy that you pick up from another team that you think you can use on special teams, and it changes. Like every year, it changes. I can't name 2 guys on Kondo, like I said, our kickers and punters and returners aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, Taiwan Jones. I can't name the guys that are running down or the guys that are blocking or the guys that play significant
Darren
roles
Bates.
on special teams. You may have a gunner.
Oh, if anyone watches, if anyone wants to see, if anyone's trying to learn how to play special teams, watch Darren Bates, because he lays people out, and it is the best tape you've ever watched from a special teamer, blocking wise, in the I think it's left guard on the kickoff. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
but again, that's most people aren't going to know that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is that we sit here and we kind of look at who we know, who can we cheer for, you know, who can we blame, who can we cheer on. That's what we're looking at. And again, a lot of times the gunners and the returners are the only guys that we know. If you got a good gunner, somebody that gets down there, and that was Jones, and who else was a really good gunner for us?
It was Taiwan Jones and oh man, it was a linebacker that's no longer with us. It was a linebacker.
We had a couple guys that would get down the field and
Miles Burris. Miles Burris.
No, not Miles Burris. There was another. There was a guy that was always making hits down the field. Like, he was a gunner. He'd run down there and just freaking smash people. I can't remember who it was, but I remember, like, every year it was like, oh, that dude's he's doing it. And we kept him around for a couple years. But like I said, that's all you get on special teams, man. You get maybe 2-3 years at the most. You don't see guys that have been on special teams for 5, 6, 8 years, you know?
But it's becoming a commodity to have these days. I mean, Philadelphia traditionally, this was under Chip Kelly, they had 1 or 2 players that were just pure special teamers and specifically came into that. And it's an interesting role to have. You can only suit up 46 people during a game on a game day, so maybe it's an interesting kind of scenario.
Yeah, if you could find a Devin Hester, you could find a player like that. I guess I'm all for it. But I guess, I don't know, my way of thinking is I think more like a Belichick guy would, you know. I want you to do this, but you got to be able to do this. And that was the thing with Hester, is they got to the point where they're like, okay, well, he's great at this, but we need him to be a receiver, and he never developed into that he could run routes. You know, he could improvise, but he couldn't run routes. Yeah, he couldn't run routes. So
you could have made Devin Hester into anything. You could have called him a safety. You could have called him a wide receiver. You could call, you know, because he couldn't catch and he couldn't run routes and he couldn't cover and he could. You know, the only thing that he could do is when a bunch of people were trying to knock him down, he could get away from them. Yeah, you know, so. That was his skill. And like I said, if we can get something like that, don't get me wrong, obviously that helps the team. So, but I don't hold my breath for it. I think that the kick return and the punt return should be eliminated. I think we should just do like, hey, you start on the 20 every single time, and you just go from there. You know, because it's just crazy. You know, you get fumbles, you get penalties, you get all kinds of different things. Just start on the 20.
That's where the skill comes in. That's where the skill. If you can get one guy to be a weapon that can enact a complete enough that can change a thing, people have to account for it. And it's so interesting to see how people change and for it. But anyway, I'm going to call it there. It is 6 in the morning right now, and I've been up for 24 hours.
Yeah, we're going to call it, too. We've been on for 3.5 hours at this point. So
yeah, so
I think we put together a show. But thanks for joining, man. Thanks for joining.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, Raider Lion from across the pond.
Thank you, guys.
There it is. All right, buddy.
All right. And Raider Nation, I know we still have a solid 11 viewers the last time I looked. I don't know if you got it over there, but you guys are amazing. We thank you for hanging in here for 3.5 hours. But it's been a long week. We put a lot into this stuff, and another 3.5-hour show. I can't believe we pulled it off. We're setting records weekly. But as long as we got the content, we keep coming. But I think it's got to the point where we're going to call it a night. We thank you. Please send in your emails so we can get questions for next week's show. That's at the w2w@gmail.com. Once again, that's the w2w@gmail.com. Pirate, any final thoughts before we jump out of here?
No, man. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Send us your suggestions. You guys have been really good about that. We've got, the sooner that we get those comments in, the sooner that we can start doing our work on answering them and stuff. And again, anybody that's here, if you can, go to our Facebook page and, like us and subscribe so that you can get notified when our shows are going to be coming out. Those of you that are watching us now, obviously, you guys have probably already done that, but we appreciate you guys viewing. And again, those of you that are calling in, man, great questions, great comments, and we hope that, we hope we see you guys again next week.
Yep, and we definitely look forward to it. We get really excited, especially when it starts coming like Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I mean, we're already ready to roll. We get really excited. And for those of you who watch the other live feed to watch our first episode broadcast, please don't fear the lagging parts or the audio being off a little bit. It was just a situational thing. The full episode will be up by Monday in full form, so you guys can always go back and check it out. And once again, we appreciate you guys more than you know. So send in your emails, send in your questions so we can get them answered for next week. And until next week, this has been a Will to Win broadcast, and we appreciate you guys. Stay Raider strong. See you guys next week.